That was a really great showing though by your team today, and I would love to see you guys continue to use that Chengdu comp.
And don't worry, just see us in finals.
We've been projecting the finals since the very beginning, and now we're there.
And that is the last thing I wanted to ask you about.
Don't worry, just see us in finals.
Oh, we will.
Team game, and as much as you can play that. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Look at this. Ugh.
Player of the match. Oof. As much as I want to give it to my man Thistle, my fellow caster, I think it's gotta go one of... Personally, I would give it to the off-tank, Home and One. Because that Sigma play is what won them so many fights. They were just hacking through.
Had those kind of distances they could to pull around.
What an earth shatter! Oasis had to go to the car as overtime was being triggered. Thistle was just waiting for the opportunity to lay down the hammer. The rest of the team follows up. The cleanup is there. Ace is going to hold here on Route 66.
The scariest thing is they use no ults to do that, as they use that amplification matrix to end the fight right away, 3 going down, and beyond that they still have 4 ultimates on the table. They have not had to use any to win this in its last fight territory.
Bastion? Alright, Vex, look at me in the eyes. I need you on a stealth mission to go around and coom the Bastion from behind, okay? He's gonna drop, that's your job. They're gonna drop below, that's your job.
Alright, tell me if they drop.
Okay, just hide right there.
Break the shield, break the shield. Shield's broken, Sigma shield.
Okay, wait.
Wait.
They're not dropping it. They're dropping.
No.
Okay, go behind them.
They don't know.
It's big.
Go.
Let's go!
Shield is there to ensure their survival. Scythe now out the Doomfist, removes Iceman, a hammer kill in play. Optic taking the Nubrak, and that will be the point taken by Ace's 2 minutes 56 with the time back.
End of the point. And because it took so long to finish that fight, they're gonna have the bongo up as well. That double damage is gonna be a lot, especially as they're trying to stabilize. They haven't had a 5-minute, 6-minute fight for a while now, and now they're in their spawn trying to get something done. Immortality Field's gonna keep Zim alive for a little bit, but the Discord is going to enable the Aces to focus them down.
But the MP, or you can just go in
Comes
for
risky, the EMP is online, it hits all 6 members of Oasis Firestorm. That is the go signal for the Aces. The tanks dive in, Thistle with the nano boost in tow, going to melt Zedok and Scythe. Metra and Prism onto the Echo, wants to at least match that hero, Mano and Mano. Though they are removed from the fight, BT with a Skyborn Poe Grenade, removing the Echo.
It's game over for them. But this AoE damage from the Dynamite is going to be putting in a lot of work, and as people are walled off on the side of Volume 0, as Iceman falls lower and lower, able to stay alive though, and they're able to get that rally online. That's a lot of damage mitigation, and that speed has allowed them to zip in there and take out Zim, stunning him up, and Iceman is going on a rampage with that rally.
Have a very difficult time standing up against what the Aces are throwing at you. Now there's some more ultimates online. Prism's Riptire comes out, it doesn't quite get your value, and Iceman even hunts down the Junkrat in the middle of the Riptire.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rose Cup, the last game of the Invitational. Today, we are bringing you the Diamond Finals. My name is Keela Miles, and this is my partner, Artorius, and today, we are taking a look at the Crusaders, who fought in the quarterfinals through the Furious Unicorns, the Hadrons, to get to the finals, where they are taking on the Aces, who themselves had a victory over the Tokyo Calcifers and Volume 0 to take their place here.
Yeah, and that was an impressive victory that they did against Tokyo Calcifers. Aces 4-2 in the regular season, one of those losses being to Tokyo Calcifers. So absolutely dominant showing to be able to take over a game off of a team that he had previously bested you. Miles, looking great forward to this finals here on Lijiang Tower. What are you expecting?
Well, both of these teams told me in the interview easy 3-0, so it's kind of hard to say, but the Aces have shown themselves to be incredibly adaptable, which is going to be very crucial as the Crusaders have a lot of very well-rehearsed comps up their sleeves.
Yeah, so we will have to see. Lijiang Tower is a very complicated map because of how you play each of these different points, and there are a lot of different options available to you, especially in a diamond environment where your optimal hero strategies don't necessarily need to be as optimized as in some of the higher tiers where skill variance isn't as important. But we will get to see what these teams are deciding to do once we get onto the map, as we have incredibly exciting games for sure coming our way with these two teams. Want to mention really quickly, though, that the highlight video for Aces was provided and created by Aces, and Crusaders did have an opportunity for their own as well, but it seems like they just didn't have the time, probably more focused on playing Overwatch than editing out a video here.
Well, that is certainly commendable, getting yourself ready for these finals, and as we get into it, Lijiang Tower. Now, I'm honestly hoping that we see Gardens first, or some sort of more open map, but we are going to see Control Center, a lot more enclosed, a lot more Brawl-centric.
I'm hoping we see one of these two teams try to run a Doomfist. Doomfist Symmetra is something that I've seen a fair amount over on some of the console leagues that I used to work in. And it's a rather interesting strategy on how you play it and get first control point here. And just because, as you were saying, it's a lot more confined and a lot closer, the Doomfist can get a lot of value with that Rocket Punch. So not sure if we will see it, but it would be something that I have an eye on seeing come through.
Now, as we're getting into it, it's looking like, I'm not sure we're going to keep these Bastions, but a more stun-based comp on the side of the Crusaders. Meanwhile, like you said, that Doomfist probably coming out from the Aces.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that Bastion here with Optics running that, with Risky on the Doomfist. It's going to have a lot of room for it. Never mind. We're going to get those last-minute switches. Thistle, being a caster himself, knows exactly how to debate us and make it very miserable for us. But there is a huge difference here. We have the Orisa versus the Zarya. And with a Reinhardt, I am much more of a fan of the Zarya because of the ability it allows for Silence here to just kind of really get aggressive with the bubbles, as you can see.
Now,
really good walls so far coming out of these two teams, and this is actually going to make it really difficult for the way that we wanted to see Crusaders fight, as they're taking a lot of losses. It looks like Hold Mouse 1 on the Orisa there, that shield just being a lot more valuable than the bubble was able to be here, unfortunately. And this is going to give them control. But again, Aces are going to just stay on the point. They're not going to take this advanced location where they could have stalled out a whole lot better with a lot more options, especially now that CBT1 has the ultimate available to them. This long hallway here is going to be where they have to use this ultimate as soon as they commit here now. Yes, we're going to see
now,
it through.
The amplification matrix is coming out on the side of the Aces, making it very hard to push through that front area, but they're just choosing to wait it out. Crusaders not wanting to take that fight, and now the matrix has faded away. This is allowing Silence to push in with this Coalescence, but they actually get cut off with Rixie's wall. This is going to be a big opportunity, but they're not able to capitalize until the Shatter comes out from Silence. Able to catch some people, but not enough. Hold one able to take out Silence before they get anything done. Now the Aces have the man advantage, and you can see they're pushing hard on it. They know without a main tank, the Crusaders are easy pickings, and they are cleaning up in Sioux.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how this team is deciding that they're going to give up this entire front area. This choke point is so aggressive and difficult to break through. BT1 almost already has another ultimate. They have the Shatter, they have Hold, they have Beat, they have Death Blossom. All of those would be incredibly pivotal in this area, and we do see eventually Hold Nice One moving up a little bit more, but still, they're giving up a lot of space and a lot of respect here to Crusaders that is unwarranted.
Yeah, and now you can see the Crusaders were just waiting it out, not wanting to contest the Orisa as they're pushed up that far, and because of that, the Aces push all the way back to point, but they have the Amplification Matrix up, and Thistle's able to combo with Hold M1's pull, and with those 2 quick picks, that's gonna be it. And they actually canceled out Jolly Biscuit's ult too.
Yeah, and this is going to be really, really difficult now for Crusaders. If we see Aces push forward here into a more optimal hold position, they will be able to wear their clock down incredibly quickly. They just have to Shatter. There we go. Yeah, this should be game right here.
The Shatter keeps them all holding up in there, but KJY is actually able to touch the point. However, they just have to use the sound barrier to stay alive, but it only goes on to them, meaning their team is very vulnerable. Only 4 people on point, ball swinging around to the back line, but Aces trying their best to stall out. Crusaders, though, not giving up any mistakes, not making anything. With Iceman's sound barrier, there's nothing the Crusaders can do. That's going to be Aces taking point 1.
Yeah, very good point 1. And a lot of that is still very curious about them deciding to hold on point there. We've seen teams like to hold up aggressively a lot more. It gives you a lot more options. There's a lot fewer options available to the attacking team if you're up in that initial choke point. And it makes it so that the rotations are a lot more awkward and a lot more difficult. And just because of how many ultimates they had available to them and how long they had to be able to get that set up there, I would have really liked to see it come through. But I do really like this composition coming out of the side of the Crusaders here with the Mei and the Symmetra. Really like the options that it gives them and the control that they can take with it.
Especially if they're going to be going over the top, because that means they're going to be on the point in position to cut people off.
Yeah, and if they do anything else, this is a really big, mess up, but this is exactly what we're going to see happen, and they don't have the Doomfist here for Aces to really help open this up. It's going to come down to Optic on this Echo here to really get these picks and make something happen. You
can see they're already flanking along behind, but that Ashe getting that dynamite on everyone, giving Hold M1 the damage they need to take out Homo Sapien. That's going to be huge. Without the Baptiste, no immortality field, no healing, nothing to save Magnitude from going down. Rixie going on a rampage, a clinic, just taking out everyone. 4 kills on the board for Rixie.
Yeah, that was just a lot of Homo Sapien getting really picked off early in these fights. It was something that I was noticing in the last point as well. Wasn't as critical necessarily then on the Moira, and just the way that the rest of the fights were getting played out, but that was really unfortunate here. It really messed up their ability to play it, and we are going to see the changes coming through. The double sniper coming out for Crusaders is a variation that I do like. It gives you a lot of shield break potential, especially now that we've seen that Hanzo has had nerfs reverted on that Storm Arrow.
You can see, though, Optic trying to go up top, find a kill, and they're able to get the sticky grenades onto Jolly Biscuit. Without that one sniper, going to want to back off for now.
Yeah, and that's just going to be really difficult. And actually, Silence getting too aggressive there. There was no reason for that Orisa to be there. Just going to leave a lot of stall time. Going to cost his team close to 12% on the clock here. As we're going to now see Risky going to have that ulti. BT1 going to be able to have theirs as well. And we're going to be really close to a major ult advantage for Aces at 50%. So even if they do manage to take it on this fight here, it has to be a clean fight, and it would probably be a dry.
Oh, but that's a great early pick-off with Thistle going down. That's one of those main shields out of the way, and you can see Aces trying to compensate by throwing that Bob out, but it doesn't matter. Without that shield, Void Matter is able to pop off, getting down Iceman too, and with Bob going down, there's nothing left to protect them. Crusaders are now storming onto point, taking it for their own, and probably getting a take right here, but the stall is coming out from the Aces. They're trying to hold this, and with Optic duplicating Sigma, it's stalling them up for long enough that people are actually getting back on the side of the Aces. Now, Hold MW is able to throw everyone in the air with that Gravitic Flux, and because of that, the Crusaders aren't actually going to be able to capitalize off of the kills they got. They're not going to get back to the point.
No, and that was very, very unfortunate. A lot of mistakes coming through. They didn't cut through and take advantage of the picks that they got off early enough. They could have pushed through BT1's ultimate there and really got onto the point and really forced things, but unable to do that. And then they don't even get overtime here without those switches. This was just disastrous looking for the Crusaders game 1.
Yeah, this is not looking good at all. As you can see, the Aces are choosing to elect for a strategy that means you don't get to the point at all. You saw them go for the Shatter here on Control Center when they wanted to, and of course that combo that we've seen from them time and time again, Larissa pull through Amplification Matrix into a Fire Strike. But what really does worry me is the Crusaders had a really tough time getting back on their feet after the initial loss.
Yeah, and like I said, the last fight that we saw there was a lot of opportunities for Crusaders to just kind of push in. There was no reason for them to play it as slow as they were, and that is honestly what lost them the point there. Having the ability for Thistle to get back on the Orisa and get the flank off made it really difficult for their double shield tank to play. And then we see Homo Sapien use that Zenyatta trance really late in that fight and didn't save it for another fight. There wasn't even another fight because they never managed to touch the point in time. So
Yeah,
we will have to see if these mistakes can be shored up for game 2 because they are making a big difference.
It's really, really unfortunate to see, like you see Homo Sapien using it so late, but I have to defend them a little bit. It's because they thought that that fight was as good as theirs. Even when a pick went off, they thought, oh, it's just one kill, it doesn't mean anything, but it took them so long to get there that all of Void Matter's kills meant nothing.
Yeah, we will have to see how this is going to wind up going on to our hybrid map coming up next. Crusaders are picking it, so we will have to take a moment to figure out what that's going to be. And Miles, that 3-0 is looking a little bit more likely from the domination that we saw on Aces here for this map 1.
Yeah, 4-0, but the Aces have... Well, they were thriving in the chaos that they were creating by not letting the Crusaders pick the fight they wanted. But on a hybrid map, it's a lot more organized. You need to be a lot more coordinated. And I think the Crusaders might have a little bit more time to group up and get the push that they actually want.
Yeah, so we will have to hope that that's the case. But like I said, there was just a lot of interesting decisions being made by both sides here. Crusaders not quite sure what they're going to be doing here, as we are still waiting to see what this hybrid map will be. Do you have any preferences, Miles?
I mean, personally, I would like to see something a lot more open, like Numbani, for example, because we saw, well, these brawl comps, these up-close comps have not been faring well for the Crusaders. They're kind of getting outplayed up close and personal, but if they have the opportunity to dive or do long-range poke, they might have a better chance.
Yeah, obviously King's Row is a map we've seen plenty of, and I don't think that would play very well into Crusaders' style either. The one that came to mind as well when you mentioned a little bit more openness would be Blizzard World. Crusaders definitely would have a little bit of opportunities in that first area on A to be able to take some rotations, make a little bit of chaos, which is something that the Aces were definitely taking advantage of as well. So we will have to see. It does look like Crusaders are thinking very, very difficult about this choice. So it is relatively unlikely to be the King's Row coming through, just because if that was the map they were going to do, we probably would have seen it already.
Yeah, I mean, King's Row, Scrim's Row, you see it time and time again, and that kind of worries me because if you take a map, if you take a team to a map that both teams have practiced on and one team was kind of stomping you last time, I mean, if it's essentially you're already warmed up on that map.
Exactly, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially if we can take them to a map that you might not be as practiced on. Blizzard World is a map that notoriously a lot of players don't like playing on. I personally really, really enjoy it. The A take is really interesting, and there's a lot of different variations on how you do A holds based on how you expect your opponents to attack. But it does look like Aces are ready. I have not gotten a confirmation from Crusaders that we have picked our map yet, so we are still waiting on this. Just gonna have to wait that out. But no, Blizzard World is something that I'd be very excited to see. It's not a map we get to see very often, and it's one that there's really, really interesting stuff that can happen on it.
Now, what kind of strategies do you like to see? Because I've seen a lot of, honestly, Bastion high ground strats, people holding way in the back and engaging only when they have to. But most importantly, you see a lot of Reinhardt on that map. Like,
yes, I think Double Shield or Risa Sigma can be pretty strong on that map. I do think that the far back holds is most effective on Blizzard World because there are multiple different flanking avenues that the attacking team can take in to be able to break anything that's further up than that. Even holding between the shed and the side wall there very close to point can be exploited by a couple of different rotations that are available to the attackers. So the Bastion high ground hold is one that I am a fan of. It is relatively difficult to break and requires Mei to be able to do all of this positioning and macro stuff, which, no surprise to anybody, is something that I am very vocal about and really enjoy. So being able to see that kind of stuff come through is really interesting, but it does leave you susceptible to a couple of other strategies as well. And that, I think, is the culmination of what I like about Blizzard World so much, is that there is no clearly defined, this is how you do it. Like, there is sort of with King's Row, how it's the Rein Zarya defense, or even the double shield Torbjorn defense that we've been seeing prop up more and more.
What does worry me a little bit about something like that is the Aces are self-described as the most adaptable team in the league. And I'm not sure if that's as true yet, but it seems to hold good right now. And on a map like Blizzard World, where different comps are better on different parts of the map, it favors those switches that the Aces like. Meanwhile, King's Row, I mean, that's all Brawl. You might be able to run double shield on the first point, but for the most part, it's all Brawl.
Yeah, it is definitely more difficult to run Blizzard World, and that's probably why a lot of these teams don't like it, because you are right, there are a lot of different ways you want to approach it, and as I mentioned, it does change drastically depending on how your defense is holding. But the other was, we could see some very interesting maps coming through. It does look like King's Row is going to be confirmed to be the map, so we will be seeing this Brawl. And I think this is going to be really difficult for Crusaders, because Thistle and Hold Mouse 1 just looked really, really good and strong on the Rein Zarya. And even the Rein Orisa was still doing a lot of work compared to when Crusaders was running the Rein Zarya, which is something that you don't often see because of how aggressively it enables your Reinhardt to be able to play and how you can nullify shields by that space.
Now, another thing I do want to mention, like you said, both the Rein Sigma, Orisa Sigma, and whatnot, but they've been so good with the Rein Orisa, throwing the Fire Strike through that amplification matrix with the pool. I mean, I've seen that from the Aces more than I've seen it from any other team.
Yeah, and it is something that's very possible to run. It's a little bit more difficult because you give up any control of Hotel when you are running that composition, because if you try to contest it with into the Zarya Rein, they get to control that space very clearly with the cleave damage from Reinhardt. Thankfully, with the Reinhardt Orisa, it's not as disastrous as if it's the Sig Orisa, where you absolutely cannot approach the Hotel, and it's something that we saw in our Grandmaster Grand Finals as well a little bit. And it will be that Sig Orisa, so I'm a little bit confounded by this, because they're still not running the Torbjorn, which is what we usually see paired up with this, to have that turret placement, and then you let them rotate through Hotel because you can't contest it, and then you rotate the turret from in the back corner to the corner by the statue. This will leave them in a little bit of a difficult place if we see Magdalene go back to that Zarya. I am a much bigger fan of the Rein Zarya over Rein Diva, so we will have to see how this changes up, with Void Matter probably only looking for a single pick on this Widowmaker before switching off.
Yeah, probably just going to go right over the McCree. Optic, all the pressure is on them to keep Hotel under control, because if the Crusaders can go through it for free without a wall on their way, it could be disastrous. But you can see Crusaders gearing up for their push now, going right through... Oh, they actually do elect to go through Hotel, so now Jolly Biscuit is able to get a surprise pick onto BT1. That was a really fast rotation, and now without the Baptiste, the whole team is going to crumble. No Immortality Field to keep everyone up. And because of that, Thistle's going to go down, Iceman soon to follow, and now it's just cleanup mode. One already on the point, almost to 2 ticks.
I would really like to actually see them play out this and actually stagger Hold Mouse 1 right now. Because this is, yeah, that stagger there is so critical. This is going to give them free first corner on B as well for King's Row. And this is why I'm really, really not a big fan of the Sig Orisa hold on A for King's Row. It doesn't provide you anything. You give up Hotel for free, and Hotel just offers you so much value. You saw it as BT1 just went down immediately to Jolly Biscuit coming in around the back corner there, because you don't have enough time to turn those shields around, because if they come out the other side, you need both shields there.
Yeah, KJY showing a masterclass in keeping the team together, a clean rotation through Hotel with that speed boost. It was so fast that Optic didn't have time to throw up a wall to keep everyone alive. And now as we get back into it, they're holding this corner here right around the bar, and you can see they're trying their best to use this double shield to their advantage, play the long sight lines with BT1 on top. But as they said, the brawl is coming in, speeding in so fast. They weren't even able to wall them off, but Magdalene getting frozen up, that's going to be very detrimental. But the Coalescence is going to keep everyone alive for now. Meanwhile, the Dynamite doing work to keep everyone suppressed, but it's not going to actually force them out, as the Crusaders are still electing to hold there. But even so, that's going to be a big pick. The Gravitic Flux catching everyone. Hold M1, able to open that wide up with everyone at half health. KJY goes down, and because of that, everyone is soon to follow. Crusaders are getting held halfway to through point B.
Yeah, that was really well done there by Hold Mouse 1 with the Graviton Flux, going to make it difficult. Silence and Homo Sapien not being able to get out, that's really, really bad, especially because Silence looked like he should have been out already with the charge, so having to go back in. Not going to be a lot of time added to the clock here, but this is going to get difficult as I'm having eyes on Iceman. We should be seeing a rally coming out in about 2 seconds here. One should see rally popping because they should know that Crusaders has to push in now.
Yeah, Void Matter just trying to zone everyone away from this open space, and this allows the Crusaders to push right up to the cart, use it as cover. Meanwhile, like you said, Iceman popping that rally, giving everyone a bit of damage mitigation, but the Crusaders fire back with Coalescence, keeping them alive through that Dynamite, but it's going to be so hard to push through, and oh, the double shield eats up that Shatter, and that results in a double Blizzard coming out. Now, the sound barrier is only going to be a temporary matter, and that bomb is going to be huge from Magdalene, going right into the back line, finding 2, and that's it. There's no way you can hold after 2 picks like that.
That was a great bomb there by Magdalene, knowing that because of the double shields and the way that those shields work, you're able to get the bomb out after the Orisa barrier goes down, and the amount of time it takes for the Sigma barrier to arm can be just enough to allow you to slip those things through it. You see it with Shatters all the time. A really good understanding of the limitations of this hero here for Magdalene.
What does worry me?
Unfortunately, that does still leave a heavy ult advantage, though, for the Aces.
Oh, there's that combo like we said, but the wall actually disrupts it a little bit, and that allows the Crusaders to close the gap. They're right on top of the Aces now, and Thistle actually does fall in the chaos. You can see Rixie trying to equalize with that Bob, and it does find KJY, and that actually cracks it wide open. The Bob is taking up so much space, and because of that, 3 go down.
That is still a really good win here for Crusaders. They pulled out 3 ultimates, and I don't believe they used any on their own side here, so they're going to be able to build stuff up. Homo Sapien on that Moira is not something we've talked about here. Moira is a hero I absolutely love to play, but there is a lot of issues with how you play her. However, being able to build Coalescence really quickly is something that's incredibly important, as we will see them take this corner and have Coal available to them already.
You can see Jolly Biscuit committing the wall early just to allow them to close the distance once again, and no one gets cut off by that. However, it looks like Jolly Biscuit has their Blizzard online. This could be huge for shutting down these really clumped up comp. You can see it's coming out already. Both Blizzards, once again, they always counteract each other. However, it's going to be Optic caught out in the middle of the Blizzard. They're not actually going to die quite yet, but Void Matter's Deadeye zoning everyone out, helping to break down those shields. Now the Crusaders just hanging out behind this cart and is able to get 2 down with the Shatter. That enables an early pick onto Iceman, and even though Thistle is able to pull someone off the edge, it's going to be really tough to hold this, but the Bob is making it really hard to operate. JY punished for getting a little too aggressive, and with the Lucio going down, there's all of your mobility, and you can see they're falling one by one. The Crusaders have to regroup once again.
Yeah. Now, again, there's a lot of ultimates being committed here from the side of the Aces, and a lot of them are really long cooldowns. Once again, BT1 having to use the ultimate as soon as they got it here to be able to get this hold to stay up. This corner is relatively approachable for both sides, so it's not a bad hold spot, but depending on how we see these teams push in, I would kind of like to see them try something awkward and go around the back corner.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Crusaders caught all by the Gravitic Flux and have to commit the sound barrier early, not able to use it in the mid fight. However, Thistle now has that Bongo online, and the bomb from Magdalene finds nothing this time. Now with no ultimates on the table, Crusaders are in dire straits, especially with the Bob contesting the point in the backline, no less. The Boop doesn't actually get them off the map. Meanwhile, the Crusaders are able to push right on top of Aces, but it doesn't matter. They don't have the staying power, and because of that, the clumped up Aces are able to repel that push.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate as well, because they Crusaders lost sight of the point. There was a couple of people who were close enough to it that if they'd repositioned slightly, they would have been able to actually potentially close out in that fight because of how pumped up Aces had to be. And Rixie just doing a great job of being able to farm these ultimates. Having a Bob again in that fight was really, really strong. I'd love to see Iceman has to use this rally rather early in this fight as well, so that we can see it dispel Crusaders and make it so that they can't really fight in, as we do actually have a major advantage for Jolly Biscuit with the Blizzard over Optic. So not going to be able to counter it here with the double Blizzard like normal.
There's a lot of pressure right now on Jolly Biscuit to shut down that amplification matrix, and they are able to for a little bit, but Optic is still able to find the kill on the Void Matter, shutting down this push, but Crusaders are able to get out, but they're in last fight territory right now.
Yeah, so they have one really good fight, and then they have one other fight depending on how this fight goes. I have an eye on Optic's ult charge as it's ticking up 97%. They have to touch now and really take advantage of the fact that they have this Blizzard advantage.
You can see they're choosing to use the Coalescence early, and Silence is able to get an early pick onto Optic. That's huge. Without that peel from May, it's going to be really hard to back out, and Jolly Biscuit is able to clean up. Crusaders getting 3 so far, rolling the cart closer and closer to its destination. You can see Iceman popping that rally on point just to try and hold it out for a little bit longer, but that does not last forever. But it does last long enough for Optic and Hold M1 to get out onto the point with their ultimates, freezing everyone up, throwing them up into the air, but Optic will go down to Silence's charge. Hold M1 dying as well, and now it's really just Thistle on point, swinging around on ball, trying to get something done, and you can see Crusaders are having a little bit of trouble tracking them down, but it's not going to be a forever stall. Now the pressure is on Iceman to keep this point alive. They're not able to find any boops yet, and with Optic falling as well, that's going to be Crusaders finishing 4.4 seconds on the clock, but before overtime, crucially.
Yeah, super important that they managed to do it before overtime. This does mean that they will be able to have a slight advantage, and being able to complete King's Row itself is still incredibly impressive. This does still give them very clear goals of what all they have to do to be able to win this set, which is just full hold before the end of C, and then they win. So once again, going to have my eyes on how both of these teams want to hold. I definitely don't want to see the double shield coming out of Crusaders. I think they looked really strong with what they were doing in the end there with the May, or the Reaper, or the Rhine Zarya, sorry. Too many heroes that start with R in this game, as we will see what they come out with.
Crusaders choosing to stick to the Rhine Diva. Same exact comp we saw last time. That double CC in the form of the DPS, though, they are actually switching over to the Reaper, which is going to be very good for shutting down those tanks and possibly getting some flanks onto the supports.
Yeah, Reaper is really, really strong here. There's a lot of opportunities for the way that you have to take, in particular, the streets phase, as well as how you can fight on A to maximize the value that he can get. And I do really like where we already see Crusaders trying to hold. This is something that I really, really like. Normally I push up a little bit forward so you can rotate back to this point, but this is such a very strong area to be able to hold that you don't get capitalized on by those hotel rotations that we typically see double shield tanks get punished by.
Now, though, we're going to actually see Optic going onto the Echo, which is going to be big because Crusaders really don't have a lot to cover the air. It's really only Magdalene who's going to fly up there to contest them. It's lucky that they're not running a Pharah. Meanwhile, though, the Fire Strike right through the entire team, giving Silence a bit of an early art charge, but Jolly Biscuit has to back up because of the Discord. Now the Crusaders all bottled up in this area by Hotel, choosing to surge out now, but they all get caught by Dynamite. That could have been bad, but they're able to keep the healing online, and now they're right on top of the Aces. Thistle falling lower and lower thanks to that wall. Void Matter able to clean it up, and the Aces backing out for now.
Yeah, so the Echo is something that I do like to talk about because it's really, really powerful here. It gives you a lot of maneuverability. It makes this angle is a lot more safe for Aces to be able to fight. It's something that, while it is difficult, Jolly Biscuit and Magdalene definitely have to keep their eyes to the sky. The right click from the May is basically their only real hit scan that can make that distance. So, next fight, though.
They're able to close the distance, though. Crusaders getting right up in their Silence, throwing down the Shatter, ending that fight with only one ultimate.
Yeah, and the Coalescence coming through as well to help keep everybody alive. Really lots of damage as well. But they still are losing that ult advantage that they'd built up because of it. Magdalene and Jolly Biscuit nowhere near their ults. As BT1 and Optics have theirs, and Hold One is very close as well to the Graviton Flux. But this is a lot of time that they've burnt out on A. We saw that Crusaders had A in their very first push, done almost in about 30 seconds. And we're now looking at 2 minutes left on the clock before Aces will even be able to cap it.
Crusaders now trying their best to hold them before they go through this, but the Aces pushing right through this center area with the amplification matrix there to cover them. Now, once again, Crusaders hiding that back area, but ready to surge out once again, but they get split by the pull from Thistle right now. And you can see Optic has actually duplicated Thistle, and they've got the Shatter, hit everyone to the ground. Optic winning that fight with that Shatter, that is incredible. Another Shatter does come out from Silence, but it's not enough. Wait, that was actually another one from Optic there.
Yes, the Echo managing to get 2 Shatters there, really important, it makes them take that fight. But we see they had to commit that and the Graviton Flux as well. KJY went down before he was able to get the sound barrier, which would have been pivotal in helping stop that Graviton Flux. But Crusaders is going to actually have the opportunity to be able to retake this first corner from them, unlike how we saw Aces hold to be able to do against them just moments ago. As this is how we're going to see it, the push forward.
Now, Crusaders are able to get through without getting disrupted by the pull this time, and because of that, the Aces are going to have to commit 2 ultimates just to hold this. Bongo and Bob down on the field, going to force the Crusaders out of there, but that is a very good dry push.
Yeah, that was a lot of ults being committed by Aces, and a lot of kills coming through as well. Them being able to get Homo Sapien at the very end there, very well done by Optic. That does make it really difficult for Crusaders to be able to fight anything other than last point here for C. So we will potentially see a stabilization, but if we do, it's going to be at this very last point, and it's something that's difficult to do. But with the ult advantage that we are seeing accrued for Crusaders, it's going to be a very difficult fight for both sides.
The main thing here is not using too much, already committing that Coalescence from Homo Sapien, and Jolly Biscuit catching everyone out with that Blizzard, able to freeze up, hold M1 and BT1, and get them both down. Without that, oh, they're committing the Shatter as well. That is going to enable them to clean up the fight single-handedly, but they did use quite a bit there.
Yeah, it was a very nice looking fight before the Shatter came through. I was really, really happy with it. They had enough picks here that Aces had to back off, had to be, respectful of the picks that had come through. It was going to give them only about a 20-second reset as opposed to the about 45 seconds that they now have to take here. But without the Shatter available to silence, this is really difficult for Magdalene and Void Matter to be able to get value off of their ultimates. So we will probably see the Deadeye come out as a zoning ultimate right about now.
Right off the bat, Optic has the duplication online, and they kind of ran wild last time. But the Magdalene's bomb is going to go out, gets immediately... Oh, the Shatter... Deadeye from Void Matter is actually able to find BT1 with no Immortality Field online. Optic trying to get something, anything in this duplication, but they're not able to get anything before they go down. However, Homo Sapien does die. That's an opening. Without that main healer, Crusaders don't have a lot of sustain, and you can see Void Matter falling as well. Crusaders have to pull something out now if they want to hold this, but with Silence getting stunned up and killed, I don't think they're going to be able to hold.
Really big dynamite coming out of Risky there. No, there was absolutely no way they're going to be holding that. Once Homo Sapien went down, there was just no staying power here for the side of Crusaders. And because the Magdalene Void Matter ults had to be doubled up to be able to get BT1, just really bad feeling for Crusaders to have those ultimates not be able to get really the value you were looking for. Silence now with the Shatter as well will be able to let them reset and hold this at least once, depending on how this Bob comes out from Risky.
You can see already the amplification matrix being shut down by the wall, but there's the Shatter. Doesn't actually catch anyone, but forces them back. But with Iceman knocking Magdalene off the map, that's a tank out of the way right away. Optic capitalizing immediately, throwing the beam onto KJY, and Crusaders are in full retreat mode now.
Yeah, we have to see them do this retreat properly. They're going to have to recontest, and they have to now hold this for almost 2 minutes because, as I was saying, like this is a very easy thing to be able to hold, but I don't know if they're even going to be able to touch.
Jolly Biscuit does have the Blizzard as a last resort, but they have the Bob walled off for now. That's going to be fine. Coalescence keeping everyone alive for now, and they're choosing to commit the Blizzard. Doesn't actually catch anyone except Hold M1, gets a little too aggressive, caught in it, but not frozen up quite yet. However, Bob does find KJY. That's going to be big, and with a big Shatter coming out from Optic, duplicating Silence, that's going to be everyone falling. It's really just going to be KJY trying to stall something out, but they're not going to be able to touch. That's going to be the Aces finishing with 2 minutes, 42 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and Jolly Biscuits there, unfortunately, kind of threw it with the Blizzard placement. They had already forced the team to retreat by using the wall already, and there was no recontest coming in from Aces. They hadn't committed to the fight. There was no reason to send that Blizzard in, because it just meant that Aces get to keep holding where they were, and there was no ability to capitalize off of it, which let Optics then grab the Reinhardt. And when you can build a Shatter in about 3 swings of that hammer, Reinhardt goes from being very, very strong to almost legitimately broken. So Optics doing a really good job on that Echo, knowing exactly how to use the Reinhardt to be able to open up everything here. As once again, Ace is going with this double shield hold.
Now, they know that Crusaders are going to push through the hotel this time. They're not going to get caught unawares, and hopefully Optic is able to do something to shut it down, maybe risky throwing some dynamite. It seems like the Aces' main strategy is to delay the engage from the Brawl comp long enough that they can get poke damage in and make it a one fight for them, but it all depends on how they use their rotations, make sure they stop them from getting to them before it's too late.
Yeah, and for that, I'm having my eyes on Optic actually wall off either the front side or back side of Hotel and allow the team to rotate. Where we see Aces holding now is what's leaving them susceptible to this Hotel rotation. They should be in the back corner by the car and the tree instead of being holding this door. This is something that you see a lot more with Ryan Zarya. It's a lot more effective with that because you want and can contain Hotel support. And instead, once again, the wall is going to be late.
They're actually going to catch KJY with the wall, throwing them up and getting them down. Now, though, Crusaders are doing their best to hold on, but not doing enough. With the main tank and main healer going down, there is no sustain on the point. Thistle cleaning up, getting 3 in that fight.
Yeah, so I spoke a little too soon about that wall, but it was really, really unfortunate because there were still opportunities for them to be able to get around it here. I would still like to see them pull back a little bit for where they're holding so that they're not so close to the hotel, and it will take away a lot of the value and power of this rotation, and I do like this alternate route that we've seen Crusaders taking here.
Crusaders electing not to get caught off, going around, trying to take a clean fight, and they're able to close the distance. Silent has the shatter. That's going to be big. Catching 2 with it, rocked straight to the ground and able to take down Risky. That's a great engage. You don't want to get too aggressive now, but you're able to clean up a little bit more. Now, they're forced to commit the wall just to get back to the point. Aces trying their best to get there, committing the bongo, wanting to hold this as much as they can, and the amplification matrix comes out. Maybe a little too late, though, as the Coalescence is able to keep everyone up through the Blizzard, and that is going to be the point going to Crusaders. Aces are not able to touch. They committed so much to hold that, and now the Aces are trying desperately to hold on, but with the orb cleaning up Optic, I'm not sure they're going to be able to do anything. They're in full retreat mode now.
Yeah, Optic must have thought that they were touching the corner there, and they weren't. And this is actually going to give them the first corner here because they committed so much to that A hold. They don't have anything to really stop this first corner. They're going to be able to stop second corner, but this is a lot of space to be able to get with only 1 minute on the clock. 2 minutes 42. We did see that Crusaders was able to defend this on their initial A hold. I'm looking on Iceman, waiting to see this rally come up. It should be really, really soon so that this team can move in and be able to capitalize off of that Brig ultimate.
The one thing is, the Crusaders can't get all caught by this Gravitic Flux, because that means no one's touching the point. However, they're able to get the Sound Barrier off, which keeps them all in the fight, and the Blizzard off. Everyone caught in the Blizzard by Aces. The Immortality Field keeps them alive for a second, but Hold M1 and BT1 falling lower and lower. Iceman does go down, but Silence, that's a far more important pick. Without that shield, and more importantly, without that shatter, it's going to be really tough to fight. No one to block that dynamite. And now the Crusaders falling lower and lower, but Void Matter able to equalize. Optic got a little bit too aggressive. Thistle is trying desperately to get them off the point with that halt, but it's not going to be enough. But it is that dynamite catching 2, and now it's just Silence coming back to the point. Not able to hold it.
So very close, and a much better use of the ultimate there out of Optic this time around. Know that the team had to commit, was able to throw it a little bit further back and have the actual value coming out of it this time, not just being used as base making, which was not what they needed there on that key point here. Now, 2 minutes 42 to get most of the way through B is still a feat and is still entirely matchable here for the side of the Crusaders on their defense. Will they be taking us to a 1-1 when we go to our first break, or are we going to be seeing Aces up 2-0 already? We will have to see. And again, eyes are on how this hold is going to be coming out. Does it look like Crusaders are very happy with how this composition is on the hero side of things, just wanting to shore things up and play it a little bit cleaner.
Now, the Crusaders have made a crucial swap onto Ashe. This is going to give them the ability to contest Optic in the air, which is going to be huge. Optic was getting a bit too much free reign throughout that entire push.
Yeah, and it is still going to be difficult for that Ashe to be able to get those shots. The mobility that the Ashe or the Echo has can be difficult because it's not as straightforward and linear as a Pharah is, or even a Widowmaker's movements options are. So the ability to get those clean headshots against Echo can still be really difficult. So you are right. This is the duel really that we have to watch is Epic versus Void Matter, and if Void Matter can stop Epic from getting the ultimate to be able to duplicate Silence here.
Now, what does worry me is the Aces have a slow, long push, and the Crusaders know when they want to engage. They're trying to get a wall off somewhere, anywhere, but it's not going to come out yet. Crusaders choosing to play this patiently. They don't want to overcommit, and they're able to wall them off from their supports for just a second, but Aces are able to hold together for now, getting clumped up in that Immortality field, but that resource is used now. They need to get a kill from it, but it's looking like the Crusaders are able to re-engage perfectly. They're all healed up now, but KJY crucially goes down. They're popping coalescence just to keep themselves in this fight, and they are actually able to heal up. Iceman falling lower and lower, and so is Thistle, but Optic is able to get the duplicate off before anything goes down. Now they're going to be able to throw the Fire Strike and, more importantly, the Shatter into this fight. With those kills going in the Aces' favor, it's looking harder and harder for Crusaders to hold, and they're going to have to back out.
Yeah, KJ going for a very good ability to stall out there, but a minute 30 seconds. This is still possible, but it is going to be very rough here. And like I said, we had to have Void Matter doing a really good job of keeping the Optic from getting that ultimate. Not what we saw happening at all. Optic still looking rather uncontested in the sky here. Magdalene, Void Matter, and Jelly Biscuit, all heroes who have a little bit of ability to deal with them, not doing that. But this, once again, he's just getting very aggressive.
Now you can see Hold M1 feeling himself a little bit, trying to get... Oh, KJY going down early to that Critic Flux once again. That pick from Void Matter is gonna...
Actually looking really dire now for Crusaders here. The kill coming in at least early enough that they will have the option to be able to last touch, and it's going to have to be Silence staying alive here and using that Shatter to clean up before they are able to push all of the way. With only 2 people on the cart here, we do see Aces taking it relatively slowly. I do want to see Optic, there we go, staying on the cart, making sure that it's moving a little bit faster than if it was just the Brig alone.
Now you can see they're getting held up just a little bit. Silence falling a little bit low, but not dying yet. You can see Risky doesn't want to touch a point at all, but that's not a big enough Shatter. Risky's Bob goes completely ignored, and with the Blizzard being eaten, that's it. The Crusaders have nothing. That's going to be Aces going up 2-0 in this finals.
Yeah, and that was just really unfortunate. The Shatter going directly into the shield, Silence not taking like one step further to be able to get around it, and Risky, we saw a great Bob coming out there at the very end, and going to in fact likely be the play of the game here is
The Bob was just uncontested as they were so focused on touching the point, and with Silence going down, there's no shield to get in the way of it. Because of that, it was a war on 2 fronts, and they were not prepared to fight it.
No, and some very good play out of Risky as well as Optic. That entire set made it really difficult. As I mentioned, we will be going to a quick break. We will be back bringing you potentially the second half, hopefully more games of this very exciting Diamond Grand Finals.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rose Cup Diamond Division Grand Finals. When we last left you off, the Aces went up 2-0 over the Crusaders, but now on the Crusaders' pick of Route 66, a payload map, they might be able to just turn it around.
Yeah, and Route 66 will be interesting to see how these two teams go because there's a lot of options that you have. Big Earl's defense is a very, very common one, and that can open you up to some interesting dive strategies, which I would love to see Crusaders try something new and especially try to force Aces out of their comfort, something we haven't seen Crusaders do a whole lot of so far in the set, and it's really let Aces just kind of run away and run wild.
Yeah, the Crusaders do have a lot of proficiency on the comps they have prepared, but we didn't see a lot of willingness to swap off, especially when they were getting held pretty severely by the Aces.
Yeah, and King's Row, I think, was very, very indicative of that kind of stuff. And as well, for that, just a momentary apology. We have noticed that there are some internet issues with our producers. So any of those that you see on stream, we would like to apologize to you guys for just really quickly. But as I was saying, King's Row, we saw Crusaders run the exact same competition, 2 attacks and 2 defenses in a row. No swaps really, with the exception of swapping that Reaper for the Ash to try to help deal with Optic on that Echo, and didn't really make a whole lot of difference. So we will have to see what is going to happen here on Route 66 as we get into games.
Now, I would be very, very happy to see some sort of dive composition to take out Big Earls, but it's not always the strongest, and that is the thing. Double shield is very prevalent on Route 66, and that's what we've seen the Aces running.
Yeah, that being said, double shield has its strength from those 2 shields, and the lack of mobility that is available, especially from the Orisa shield, can leave them susceptible to highly mobile characters like Dive tends to be full of, as well as nuking somebody who's not supposed to be where they are. You are in a very difficult position, especially if you're running some sort of echo. And I was joking on off camera about them running a pirate ship setup here. And Jolly Biscuit looks like they will be baiting us for that possibility. If they do this, I would love to see Magdalene switch over to the Orisa, because you had mentioned that one of the really big dangers with it is that if the enemy team has a Reinhardt of themselves, you can just charge the Bastion off the point. But if you put an Orisa on top of that with the halt or the stand, the CC immunity, that becomes incredibly difficult. So, and indeed going to be debated by Jolly Biscuit, going to instead have that Hanzo for shield break.
Yeah, that could be good for contesting the high ground, but what I have to wonder is where is Void Matters in all of this? Because it's going to be very, very tough to contest this double shield on the high ground. You're going to have to force them to drop, but I'm not sure how. You're maybe going to lose your speed boost under Big Girls, but that's really your only chance.
That being said, thankfully, because of where the cart goes, they do actually have to drop off of Big Earls to be able to contest it. Otherwise, they can just kind of sit on the cart, not worry about doing anything. And a really good wall there, actually, coming out of Jolly Biscuits, is going to give them the ability to take this high ground as well.
Like you said, that wall gives them the ability to hide under Big Earls, force them off the high ground, and now this is the Crusaders' fight. They're waiting for the speed boost to re-engage, but the Fire Strike is opening it up just a little bit. Iceman not quite going down, but there's the engage. The speed boost coming out, charge coming in, but Void Matter goes down so early to Optic's beam. Optic kind of uncontested, getting ignored on the high ground, and that proves to be detrimental. Now, Crusaders all pulled together, and they're using the Coalescence, trying to win out this fight. Now, in these narrow corners, it is a little bit possible. You can see Silence swinging away, trying to hammer down someone, but they get killed before they can pop off that Shatter. Jolly Biscuit does find Iceman, but without your main tank, you don't really have any staying power, especially going into an amplification matrix. And with Homo Sapien falling as well, the Crusaders are just going to de-engage.
Yeah, this is the issue that you see with the Ryan Diva as well, is that as soon as the Reinhardt tries to go in, there's not a lot of support to really help enable that, unlike where if you had the Zarya, and you don't have another shield like you would if you were running Sigma or Orisa, so it's a really difficult composition to run, especially when you're trying to not contest high ground consistently. So we will have a pause coming through, and I'm not entirely sure what the reasons for that are. We will be hopefully seeing so from the players momentarily. Looks like a player had some issues with their mouse. Just be a moment here, as 2.5 minutes here, cart's near the end, and this is looking kind of scary, Miles. This is a very difficult place to be able to hold, or to attack for Crusaders, and there's a lot of options for how Aces want to hold this, especially with their composition that they have right now.
Well, personally, I think this is exactly what the Aces want, because they are in a very unorthodox position, but that's where they thrive. And because of that, I'm not sure the Crusaders will know exactly how to engage, and that'll play directly into the Aces' favor, because they're going to be able to slow them down, use whatever they want to just keep them from getting to the cart in the first place, getting a pick off. And if Crusaders do get to the cart, they have the Bob as a last resort.
Yeah, it is going to be really, really difficult here for Crusaders for a lot of those reasons as well, because Optic is just not being contested effectively here. We already see that the duplication is available. Silence will be an obvious target here once again, and let's see if this is going to work once again as that.
Uh-oh, you can see the Gravitic Flux comes out early, but the Lucio Soundbear is able to hold them for now. However, Optic able to get immediate shatter, knock Magdalene to the ground, and with Bob uncontested once again in the back line, they're not really going to get anything out of this.
Yeah, I actually think Bob was a little bit of an overcommitment, especially because they don't get Magdalene out of the mech with it. It would have been really nice to see if they could have tried to hold that off and use just Optic with the ultimate, and that would have let them save the rally and Bob here for this next fight, because we've seen Iceman being really late on the rally pulls and using them at the very last second instead of giving it a couple of moments to get that armor packs to really start up. And I love this rotation and the placement here from Aces. We saw that Crusaders went underground last time, and if they do it again, they're going to get dropped on and immediately punished very hard by Iceman on this Brigitte.
You can see Hold M1 actually baiting them out, and now they're all caught up, all dynamited up. Jolly Biscuit committing this Blizzard to try and catch someone, but with Void Matter falling early once again, the Crusaders are being fired on all sides. They're not able to stabilize at all.
Well, that was looking so good because of Jolly Biscuit's Blizzard did make it look really difficult for the rest of the team to go through. Once again, Iceman using that rally a little bit later than I would have liked to see it coming out here because of the fact that they wanted to drop down into the team fight. Should have been used as they dropped or moments beforehand. But once again, still having this ult advantage going in for Aces. They have BT1 with this amplification field, and this is going to make it so annoying for Crusaders.
Crusaders now committing to this high ground, but eventually fall back down to the point, popping the Coalescence right away, giving themselves a window to push in without worrying about healing. However, Magdalene gets beamed out of the mech so fast, has to commit the bomb, and that does find Optic. That's huge. Without that aerial damage, it's going to be really tough for the Aces to actually hold. They're committing the bomb just to hold onto the point for a little bit longer, but Thistle going down is going to be huge. It's going to be really hard to hold without that shield. It's going to just hold M1 on the point, holding it out, but it's looking like the Crusaders are having a very hard time clearing this out, especially the Immortality field coming out. At this point, the Aces are actually getting back to the point, and they have another Bob from Rixie in the backline, harassing them, but it doesn't go exactly where you want. However, Optic is able to find a clutch bomb onto Jolly Biscuit. Without that mace sustain, it's going to be really hard, but Thistle is going to go down, and because of that, it's just Sigma on the point, but they were on the point before. But with Baptiste going down as well, that's going to be it, because without that sustain, there's no way you can hold on. But that was a great hold overall by the Aces.
Graviton Fox nearly being able to be enough, Homo Sapien using the Fade to be able to get back and stop the OT from timing out in just enough time. But now we are going to see B push, and there's a lot of options now for Aces. They have plenty of time to be able to set up on this high ground by bridge, and it's going to be really, really difficult. Ults available, however, do favor Crusade, and I'm watching Silence and Magdalene and how they're going to use these ultimates. Ideally not together, but one to open up for another, especially because the only shield that is available now, we have Thistle swapping back to the Orisa, so it will be the double shield once again.
Yeah, Silence is actually able to boost onto the high ground with the cart, able to apply a lot of pressure to the double shield, force them to give up that high ground very early. Now with the Aces on the low ground, it's going to be Rixie actually finding that crucial early pick, but the bomb does not go where you want it to be, get caught on the high ground. And now because of that, that was a little bit of an overcommitment. Silence not able to get anything off of that bomb.
Yeah, Magdalene committed that as soon as the Jolly Biscuit had gone down. You lost your Hanzo, and you're committing an ultimate into a fight that you have no right to take, let alone try to win. We've been seeing them struggle even in 6v3 or 6v4 scenarios, like at the very end there of A. So I would have much rather seen Magdalene try to hold on to that ultimate for a lot longer because there was no way they were winning that fight.
Crusaders going for the rotation through the saloon, able to avoid a lot of that poke damage, and now they're behind, swapping places with the aces. Void Matter popping that high noon, trying to zone everyone out. This is their cart now, and because of that, the Coalescence is making it very easy for Silence to push right on, but they're falling lower and lower. The sound barrier has to be committed just to keep them alive, but Optic is applying so much pressure. They're able to block the shatter, but now Bob is in the backline once again. We've seen that shut down the Crusaders time and time again, and they're once again not dealing with it. Bob taking down Silence, and now, without that main tank, the Crusaders are going to back out. Once again, this is their last push.
And unfortunately there, BT1 getting a little bit too bloodthirsty, meleeing Magdalene there. Could have used it to hold down the timer to about 15 seconds before this last push with the Diva and the Baby Diva. Not going to be the case. And once again, Optic just being able to be, you know, unafraid of using that Shatter as this Echo here. We will see Final Fight territories getting here. Silent. All eyes are on them to be able to make something work with their Shatter.
They need to hit a Shatter, but Magdalene goes down so early without that off tank, and Silence going down as well. That's both tanks down now on the side of the Crusaders. They have nothing to hold this now. With Iceman's rally giving everyone the armor they need to survive, that's going to be the Aces holding on point B.
Yeah, and that's looking really, really rough. Iceman pulling out a couple of much cleaner rallies than we were seeing in Game 1 and Game 2, helping the team with a lot more of that armor instead of the healing that we can see coming out of that ultimate. But just Crusaders not being able to get into the positions that they needed to be able to deal with how Aces was holding. And I am very, very excited to see what we're going to see Aces doing on this attack. Optic should be still on that Echo. I would love to see Risky on that Ashe still. It's not normally a combination that I am a big fan of, but the way that Risky has been able to farm and use these Bobs so far this series has been absolutely astounding. And as you've said, just absolutely opening up Crusaders, making it very difficult for them to understand where they need to be putting their priority and their focus, and just not having the options to deal with it.
Is there anything in your mind that the Crusaders can do to contest these Bobs? Because it seems like when Bob goes out, it's almost a one fight.
So with the compositions that they're running, there's not a whole lot that they can be doing, unfortunately. It really comes down to KJY and Silence to be able to reposition the Bob into somewhere where they can, you know, make use of the fact that they can't take this space. Other than that, it's going to be up to Jolly Biscuit to wall it off when they are still running the Mei, but they swap off of the Mei frequently enough that it's not a reliable option. And where Crusaders is holding right now, I actually don't like, because of how far back Jolly Biscuit is. Jolly Biscuit Magdalene need to take about 3 steps further forward so that they don't get spotted out. There we go. Psychic Link here able to understand how detrimental this could have been. Now that they know that they're on the card,
Optic spots them out, and because of that, the Crusaders are not getting the surprise they need, but they are in the middle of the Aces, able to beam down, hold M1, freeze them up. And now, with those early picks, the Crusaders are able to clean up one after another. This is a great early hold by them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they still let a lot of progress happen on the cart, and they're not going to be able to actually stop the cart from taking this corner here unless they try to do something really, really ballsy and aggressive, like holding right here. Something we do see a lot in solo queue, not very effective here when you have these communications. Hold M1 is... Where are they?
Hold M1 is holding the high ground, but Crusaders actually get bottled up into this underground area. The Coalescence has to be popped to get them out of it, but meanwhile, that's a huge boot from KJY. Even that Shatter from Optic isn't going to open it up that much, but with KJY going down, it just might. Because of that, everyone on the ground, that's another Shatter from Optic. That duplicate's so powerful in their hands, and what looked like a one fight, the Crusaders gets turned around on them.
Yeah, and now I have my eyes on Magdalene. Going to go down to Risky very, very late in this fight as well. Still could have had a couple of extra seconds available to them, using the shotgun to just keep Magdalene pushed back a little bit, and then using Whip Shot once again to do that, and then killing them off. Could make it so that you have a lot more time. As now we're going to see final hold for A coming out from Crusades, unless they can do something here with Silence's Shatter. Once again, this is going to have to be important, and Jolly Biscuit has to get the optimal Blizzard this time.
Yeah, Silence needs to go for 1 or 2 targets, just get a pick to open the fight up, not going for a full fight. But Bob in the middle of everyone, and KJY gets shut down in the middle of their sound barrier. Without that extra health, there's no way you're going to be able to hold Crusaders on the back foot. They need to hold on B.
Yeah, and just this Bob continuously getting this value. KJY not able to beat it out this time, not able to boop it. We don't see Silence or Magdalene able to go in and do anything to stop it. Really, really unfortunate and really difficult for this team to be able to deal with it because they're just not responding to it fast enough and they're not respecting it because of how quickly Risky is getting it. 50% to another Bob already with 4 minutes to be able to get halfway through B. This is looking very, very easily to be a 2-1 or 2-3-0, sorry, for Aces as we head into our 4th map.
Oh, you can see Homo Sapien killed right out of their coalescence. That's a lot of the healing out of the picture for the Crusaders. They're trying to equalize with these ultimates, and Iceman does go down. However, with Magdalene being popped out of the mech, it's going to be really hard for anything to get done. They're committing fully to this, though. Silence popping the Shatter, and because of that, they're able to find BT1, but Optic going in there with that duplicated Reinhardt once again, and with the sticky grenades, Optic going to get 3 in that tiny enclosed space.
Yeah, and I thought it was a little bit premature for Optic to be using the duplicate there because the team wasn't in such a great spot. They were swapped sides. They didn't necessarily need to or want to take that fight that way. And then really good use of Silence and Jolly Biscuits and Magdalene to all try to shut down Optic on that Reinhardt. Unfortunately, the damage was lacking and wasn't there fast enough. And we're now into final fight territory with almost no ultimates. All eyes on Void Matter here.
Void Matter needs to clutch out in some way, but it's so hard to do in the middle of double shield, especially with the Brigida on the field. Rixie already gets Homo Sapien. Once again, main healer down so early. Homo Sapien needs to stay alive, but with that bomb going out, getting Thistle, they might have an opportunity. Void Matter trying to clutch out, but it's just them on the point, getting swung away at by a Brigida, and Rixie cleans them up. The cart is going to roll into that golden box of victory, and the Aces are going to go up 3-0 over the Crusaders.
Yeah, as we enter into map 4, Aces are on match point already, and you had mentioned to me before the games that both of these teams were very confident as they were coming into this. Neither team, betting against themselves. They were saying 3-0. I believe both teams forgot that this is a first to 4 instead of a first to 3 like the regular season was. And we just see continuously the damage from the Aces coming through, nullifying ults before they can come through. In that replay there, we saw that Silence wasn't able to finish off the Shatter either. So this is looking very, very difficult for Crusaders because the way that they've been playing just hasn't been coming through for them. And we haven't been seeing an adjustment in their playstyle.
Yeah, Crusaders, you said, not able to adjust at all, and they're getting shut down. In particular, it's looking like Rixie has figured out how to sneak through the backline, get a pick on a Homo Sapien. It happened in both of those last 2 fights, and that opened it wide up. Homo Sapien, the main healer, getting picked off is essentially a fight over.
Yeah, especially with the Moira, because you're not usually picking her because of the amount of healing that she can provide. While it is significant because of the healing over time on the Mouse 1 that a lot of people forget about, and don't account for, the comparatively to other healers, even like the Baptiste or the single healing that Ana can provide, it's much more minimal. You're usually picking her for her survivability, and the ability that you have with Coalescence. So when Homo Sapien is being picked off so quickly, it is very, very difficult for Crusaders to be able to play anything, and that just, I think that it's very indicative of a lot of the issues that we're seeing with the composition coming through. The Rhine Diva is a little bit more difficult. You usually want the Diva to be able to take high ground control. We're not seeing Magdalene force a lot of that. Void Matter and Jolly Biscuit aren't playing DPS heroes who are able to help take that high ground control and capitalize on it, even if they do get it. So it's very, very difficult for them to be able to play these fights because their composition just has a couple of different modes that they want to be playing, and they are not ever playing all of them at the same time because it's not an all-around composition. There are very key things that they are lacking in and things that they do have, and none of the 6 all match up in that way.
Now, we've been seeing the same thing from Crusaders over and over again. Now, going into this 2CP map Assault, do you think you will see anything different from them? I
really hope we do. Hanamura A holds, I'm very, very fan of the Brig kind of holds in that initial choke point. It's really, really strong. The Brig's Inspire can get a whole lot of value. It's really difficult to break it, especially if you can match it with a McCree or a May, and with a Reaper in particular. You can really hold that initial choke point. The only real big counter to it is if the enemy team goes Symmetra and tries to TP behind you guys. and that can make things a little bit more difficult. But then you still have a lot of staying power on A, and like I said, the healing that Inspire can provide is really, really strong when you are playing around a Brigitte properly. And Hanamura is one of those maps, especially for A, where the way you want to play is exactly that kind of style that Brigitte really shines in.
And now we're gonna see this close-up style possibly because Crusaders, well, they've been running Brawl non-stop, and I can't see why they do it now. But the Aces now, all the pressure is on them because, I mean, they don't want to get choked out right now because that is brutal. If you lose this map, there's your morale gone.
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be a big issue. Even if Aces does get choked out in any way here, I think they are very confident with what they're doing. And we do see Ace is going to be defending first. Iceman is going to still be running this Brigitte and BT1 on the Baptiste. I really like this. I do not actually really like Risky on the Ashe here because you typically want to have everybody really close to the Brig to get that value off of Inspire, and it's just super strong where you can hold in this initial choke point. So I would have liked to see something with a little bit more close range. Even the McCree would have been really strong just to have all of those stuns and still a bunch of damage. It is really, really difficult. But instead, we're going to see that Aces are going to hold a lot further back, which is making me question a little bit more about this Brig pick.
Right away, I do have to point out that Risky is going to be able to shut down this teleporter so hard if they get a dynamite in onto it. Void Matter has to be very careful about their placement, and you can see they're just going right onto the point. Immortality Field already out, and Crusaders actually not falling low at all. Instead, Silence going for a charge, not able to hit anyone quite yet, but with that dynamite on point, they're getting a little bit low. Aces poking at them from all sides, and Crusaders struggling to get a pick. However, that wall is going to make it really, really hard for them to engage, and they're taking up more and more. Aces in desperation mode now. They have to touch the point, forced out of their comfort zone, and this is exactly where the Crusaders thrive. Now they have the Amplification Matrix online so early, and because of that, Void Matter is able to find Optic. Even though Iceman is able to send Homo Sapien off of the map, they still have a lot of staying power on the point, but Crusaders are falling lower and lower. KJY has to pop that sound barrier to keep them in the fight. They need to clean this up. We've seen the Aces hold out in situations like this so often, and because of that wall, they're not going to be able to utilize the Amplification Matrix. With Iceman falling, that's a lot of the sustain out of the way. It's really just BT1 keeping them up, but they will fall as well. Crusaders taking point A.
Yeah, and what looked like to be a really strong fight took a really long time to finish, and a lot of ultimates were pulled out from both sides. KJY and Homo Sapien having to use ultimates there. Really unfortunate, especially for Homo Sapien. Would have liked to be able to keep that amplification field for this upcoming fight here. So eyes are on Risky, seeing if this Bob is still going to be incredibly powerful, as we are going to have the teleporter to the side here. As Aces have the high ground, this can be difficult.
Now, the wall bisects the point, makes it really, really hard to hold the high ground. Crusaders have to commit to the low ground right now. But as you can see, with Homo Sapien going down so early, like I said, the main healer out of the picture, it's going to be really, really hard to hold. But they already have a tick. The Blizzard zoning Aces off of the point completely. They have to commit the Bob, and Risky is using that very, very early in the fight. It's able to clean it up, but you're in kind of a dire position already. You can't really hold that high ground.
Well, they will be able to hold the high ground now because they don't have the shield coming in from Void Matter, and I'd like to see the Symmetra switched off of here as well, actually. Optic and Thistle being really close to their ultimates is going to make it really difficult. Blizzard is so strong on this point. We've seen Maze absolutely destroy 2 CP maps for a very long time. I remember the Anubis era where you had to play May, and instead, no, we're going to keep it as is, but this wall is going to be huge.
The wall cuts the Crusaders in half, and because of that, the people on the point, Silence, KJY, gonna go down so fast. Without that mobility, without that shield, all the other Crusaders are just gonna take a plunge into the depths.
Yeah, very interesting that they decided to do that. We see Jolly Biscuit was able to get back, and there's no reason for the May to be able to do that, nobody else. Silence and Magdalene is actually going to decide that now is the time to try double shield into the double shield. And I would have liked to see them start to try these kinds of variations a lot sooner. Going to be having a pause coming in once again. Looks like still some network issues for our players coming in here.
Now, right away, like you said, trying the double shield. This is one of the first times we've seen the Crusaders switch off, try some adaptation, and I am very, very happy to see it. I'm hoping that double sniper is going to be able to equalize Rixie's value that they've been getting, because we saw Rixie commit the Bob in that first fight, and they already almost have another one.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the other big issues here. Void Matter is now going to be the one that you have to have your eyes on for how they're going to deal with Bob, as well as really Magdalene. You can use the shift, I believe it is, for Sigma to be able to eat as much of the Bob damage as you can, and that can give you a lot of shielding as well, which is really, really useful. Otherwise, it's going to come down to the Ash using the shotgun to push the Bob away as well. And that's really, really important to be able to reposition the Bob, make it so that it doesn't get as much value here. As I think that this was a very much needed change coming in for the point B, because the Symmetra doesn't have a whole lot of value once you get your first push coming through, and especially if you've used the ultimate.
Now we can see the Aces holding the high ground, trying to zone them out completely. The Crusaders have no ultimates here, probably going to be a dry push, but Thistle already committing the bongo. Crusaders choosing to just wait it out, throw their poke damage through. They don't have to commit yet. They're building up ults just fine alone.
I really do like that decision to back up. This is really important. It's something that I talk about a lot for these sorts of ultimates. The same thing you do for Amplification Matrix, as now we're going to be able to push in.
That's a great early pick onto Risky without that sniper in the way. Both snipers from the Crusaders can operate as they please. Even though Magdalene gets stalled up, they're not going to get the value they want quite yet. Thistle dying very slowly. They're not probably going to get a push here as Void Matter goes down because the kills are coming in so slow. Spawn advantage is there for the Aces, and you can see people are already coming back, but the Crusaders do have the high ground, trying to get ults of their own from it, just firing down damage from above. But the Aces are doing well to just hold in a position where they're not really exposed to that much damage, but it doesn't matter because the shield goes down already from the side of the Aces.
This is really important to point out. Iceman versus Homo Sapien on the Brigitte versus that Zenyatta. Lots of healing was there to help out, even though Risky went down early, and that delayed a lot of that initial high ground push, as we can now see that Bob finally dealt with effectively by Magdalene.
Yeah, Discord from Homo Sapien making it so easy. However, Risky able to throw the dynamite into the backline, find KJY. That's going to be huge. Without that healing, it's going to be really tough to sustain, especially with no immortality field. Now with Homo Sapien going down, that's both healers down on the side of the Crusaders. Not going to be able to sustain through that, but that was an amazing dry push.
Yeah, lots of ultimates now coming available for them. Gonna have to keep an eye on Silence and Jolly Biscuit. Gonna watch for that Halt Dragons to come through. This is what we really need to see. And then Void Matter going to be able to follow that up with the Bob on the point, hopefully. Don't want to see them actually go for the high ground push this time around. I would like to see them take the low ground. I think it would be a lot more effective for them, and it will help them open up where they know Aces has to push through to allow Silence and Jolly Biscuit to really pull off that combo with the ultimate.
And hopefully they're going to be able to get it. Jolly Biscuit committing that dragon already, forcing them off the high ground. Aces have to give it up completely, and we saw the work that Crusaders did with this last time. And this time they have the ultimates they need to finish the fight. You can see the Bob from Void Matter going onto the point already, mostly uncontested, falling lower and lower, but hold M1. WM1 is falling very low. Gravitic Flux being committed already, but that's a lot of kills coming out on the side of the Crusaders. They're able to clean up with the Bob and Gravitic Flux, and Jolly Biscuit finishes the deal with those Storm Arrows. That's going to be Crusaders finishing with 1 minute and 5 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and no guaranteed overtime here for Aces as well is going to be very difficult and kind of scary. Because B does favor defense almost in most of these TCP maps, and we saw a very fast A push coming out from Crusaders, one of the first times they've managed to do so. And so this could be the start of something for Crusaders. I am still going to have my eyes on Homo Sapien and KJY. The Healer 2-0 for Crusaders has been something that has been getting picked off really, really early. You've been mentioning it yourself, Miles, and it's made it really easy for Aces to be able to get a lot of space that they otherwise don't deserve.
Yeah, oh, this is a new composition we're seeing from Aces. They've actually talked to me about this in the interview from their semifinals match. They are going to do a Sombra Echo dive, which could be very, very good for disrupting the backline, especially because the Zenyatta is so vulnerable to these dives.
Yeah, this is really, really scary to be looking at from the side of a double shield composition. Magdalene is not going to be able to have a shield half of the game because of Risky. Silence is going to be the only one who will be able to keep the shield out because the Orisa barrier does not go away when hacked. One of the most annoying things when you do play Sombra. And again, this is Yeah, my only complaint, realistically, is that they're running the Ana and Brig together instead of pretty much any other support duo. I was very vocal about it in the Grandmaster finals as well, about how it makes it really difficult for these two supports to be able to work together. They can be really heavily punished because of it, especially against these double sniper. Ana, in particular, is not going to be in a position where she's going to be safe at any point in time against them. So I have my eyes on BT1 and how they're going to have to position as, yeah,
Yeah,
things
they
like
are
that.
getting poked out right now. The Aces being very careful on how they do this engage, and now it comes in. Thistle jumping right onto the high ground, getting that AoE damage on everyone, and Optic able to find Void Matter with that sticky grenade. Without that long-range damage, it's gonna be the Crusaders backing up the point, trying to stabilize. However, with Thistle going down, this is an opportunity, but Hold M1 is equalizing right onto Magdalene. Without that tank on the field, it's going to be sweeping through. Ace is cleaning up point A and getting ready to go into point C with some ultimates soon.
Yeah, very well played by Optic there. Almost entirely on the back of them, I would say, for how that fight went, because it was looking really, really bad. Thistle and Hold M1 really disjointed on their initial dive. Risky wasn't being able to get a whole lot of value, was on the point, and then not really doing a whole lot. And as I mentioned before, Iceman and BT1 are going to have a really hard time healing their team, because BT1 can be held off with a single shield that we can see coming out of Magdalene. Risky has to keep it down to be able to help BT1, and being isolated from the rest of the team leaves BT1 very, very at risk. Iceman's not going to be able to get to the same places as the rest of her allies because of the lack of mobility. Going to have to use Shield Bash to try to navigate some of the gaps, and that's going to put that on cooldown. Not going to be able to get a lot of the value that you typically do from going in with Shield Bash and just whipping around to get those Inspire procs. So here we're going to have to see how Risky is going to be able to open up this high ground, because that's really what our eyes are on.
3 ultimates have actually come online. Nano Thistle up there, but with that duplication matrix, they actually have 3 supports on the field. Optic able to get that amplification matrix on the field, and because of that, both snipers are already down on the side of Crusaders. Now, they're committing the EMP as well because they know they are winning this fight. Everyone is down on the side of Crusaders. Dragon's coming from spawn, but not really going to find anything quite yet. They're switching off. Jolly Biscuit going onto the Doomfist, trying to get some early picks. Void Matter stunned out, immediately killed, and it's getting very, very hard. Only a few seconds left for the Aces. They need to just get these last few percentage points. And with this Monkey getting just dominated, Silence not able to find anything, it's getting harder and harder for Crusaders to even get to the point. Now, no kills coming out yet. Even the pick heroes that they did, Jolly Biscuit and Void Matter, not able to find the kills they need, and Aces stake their claim on the point, finishing Hanamura in 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, so despite some of the sloppiness of that fight, I would have really liked to actually have seen the Winston stay on the point after he got bopped up to the high ground. They weren't taking anything while they were in that high ground fight, and Risky on that Sombra. Some interaction that I think a lot of people are unaware of, actually. The EMP can remove the amplification matrix, and it is incredibly powerful to be able to do that. So we had Risky off on the side, and again, just a really disjointed dive. People weren't quite in position to be able to capitalize on things, and stuff that could have been used in ways to really open things up didn't come through until later, and a lot of that point contention from, in particular, Risky and Thistle didn't come in until late.
Yeah, and now we're seeing a return to this double shield comp. They've had their fun on dive, but it's time to go back to old reliable, and this is going to be really, really tough. You've only got a minute, and you don't have ultimates to crack through it this time.
Yeah, so it will be interesting. It does have the Symmetra teleporter available to them again. It will come down to Optics, I think, getting a better wall off this time to be able to help shut that down, because they were really, really struggling with that last time. Jolly Biscuit able to use walls as well to keep them out of the point. So we have to see how Aces will adapt to deal with it. I do sort of like this variation of splitting up the team a little bit more fully, like they have this time. And this TP position is just beautiful.
Yeah, teleporting right into the back of the point, onto that high ground. Immortality Field keeps everyone alive through the transition. However, they used it very early, and now both entrances are actually walled off. Aces are able to use an Immortality Field of their own to push onto the point, and they're putting a lot of pressure onto Silence, who goes charging off to the side and does find Iceman in the chaos. With that wall splitting the team up just a little bit, more and more people will fall. Optic now dying as they try and touch the point. And now the aces are looking kind of scattered. They're doing their best to hold on, but every time someone tries to touch, they die immediately. Void Matter with that charged up laser beam cleaning up, and that's going to be it for the aces hold.
Yeah, Void Matter are doing a really, really good job there. I wanted to point out as well that on the side of this entranceway, there was a turret that was completely ignored for the side of Aces. Thistle cleaning it up near the end of that fight, and it got a lot of value on taking down Optic and Risky as well.
You can see Homo Sapien already has that amplification matrix online, using it to throw out damage, but Silence is already down. That's crucial, because without that shield in the way, the Crusaders do not have the staying power they want. Void Matter is gonna have to commit this barrier to get anything done. And with this blizzard freezing up everyone, you're gonna actually see many of the aces frozen up. They're not even gonna be able to get back to the point. Risky dying so late in that. Oh, but Optic is able to stall it out for just long enough for Thistle to get back on the Wrecking Ball. This is huge. But as they get frozen up, it's going to be really, really hard to get anything done. And with this wall preventing them from touching the point, that's going to be the Crusaders finishing. Hanamura with only a minute on the clock.
That is incredibly impressive. That is super important for Crusaders. This is going to make it so that instead of having a relatively easy kind of breezy roll through for the Aces, they have to really push to see how much time they can keep out in the overtime as well, because that defense just was very rolled over. I don't know what I want to see coming out of the Aces. I really liked the dive in theory, but the way that they were playing it, there was a lot of execution errors, there was a lot of sloppiness, there was a lot of misunderstanding of how some of the heroes, particularly the Sombra, can interact in it, which, very understandable because Sombra is not a hero we see played very often anymore. She's kind of gone through a couple of iterations. There's been a couple of really big changes to her, in particular with how she interacts with health packs and her hack cooldown and stuff. But that is what they're going to run once again on the attack here. I, again, have my eyes on BT1 and how this Ana is going to be able to stay alive and still get value with the heals on this composition.
One of the main switches we're seeing come out is Void Matter. Instead of being on that Ashe, is on the McCree. Very good for shutting down the dive, stunning a lot of people at once with the flashbang. That could be crucial, but the Aces have shown that they are willing to wait it out, not committing too much too early.
Yeah, again, it's going to be interesting. And this is where one of the things of how staggered the dive comes in out of Thistle and M1 and Risky could actually play an advantage to them, because it will make it more difficult for Void Matter to get those really big stuns off with the flashbang. And I love this variation where they just are not going to deal. They're just going to be on point, and they're going to say, come to us.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to dive that point because of the roof overhead, but backing up to there is going to give the Aces freedom to choose when and where they engage exactly. And now because of that, you can see they're pushing over onto the left high ground, hoping to find something, anything, and we see the dive come in, but Thistle does not quite reach their target. They're a little bit lower down. BT1 is able to get a huge anti onto a lot of people. The amplification matrix, or immortality field rather, keeps them up. Thistle now does go down in the chaos, not able to find the picks they want, and because of that, the dive from the Aces that was once so coordinated is so scattered, getting picked off one by one as they try to engage. Jolly Biscuit finding Iceman now, and with Risky going down, that's going to be the Aces having to back out.
Yeah, and once again, this is where I'm kind of really concerned about the Brigitte and the Ana because of the way they have to hold. Oh no, hold M1 was actually staggered really, really late here as Baby Diva. Again, could have just kept the Baby Diva on point. There's no reason to kill her right there. But we'll have to see. Iceman not being able to get a whole lot of healing out because the team just not all around the brig. This is going to be difficult. And BT1 does have the nano, so they will have options for how they want to go about this. But I really like the variation from Crusaders for this hold here.
Oh my, the Aces having a lot of trouble even getting in. Thistle almost dying, jumping from high ground to high ground, and there's the engage again, able to slide off the rooftop and land right on the target this time. The nano goes out onto Thistle. They are not going to die this time, trying to get some people off the map, and Silence actually does go down. Hold M1 eating the dragon. That's a lot of the split out of the picture. The Aces are doing a great job applying pressure, but BT1 goes down. That's a lot of the sustain now. The Crusaders need to follow up on this though if they want to hold this, and with that pick on a hold M1, that's great. But Iceman finding another environmental kill onto Jolly Biscuit. With that, they're going to be able to push through without worrying about a lot of that damage. Magdalene trading back and forth. Iceman going down, and with Thistle dying as well, Frisky has to commit the EMP, hoping to find something, anything. But with that, it's taking so long to win this fight that respawns are coming back from both sides now. Almost back. You need to clean up Magdalene. They're doing so much to hold this point down. You're not able to push through the shield, and Jolly Biscuit is able to find Risky. Not going to build up to another EMP for point B now. Now, the Aces are finally able to stabilize, get point A, but they invested a lot there.
They did invest a whole lot, and it's just some of the issue that I was seeing. Risky with that EMP there, only 2 on the point, very difficult to capitalize on it. Didn't get the shield long enough for Magdalene and Silence to go down either. They managed to stay alive, get the shields back up, and really make it very difficult and costly for Aces, as you've been mentioning. And again, this variation of where Crusaders is holding is absolutely brilliant. It makes it so difficult and annoying for Aces, because all that the Crusaders have to do, and they know it, is just burn more time.
Yeah, they're shooting the Aces' own strategy against them, making it really hard to commit in the first place. And you can see Risky getting in position for a flank, throwing the bomb right in there actually to disrupt everyone, and Silence going down. Risky able to find Jolly Biscuit in the chaos, and that's a great opening. With those 2 down, you have to go out onto the point, surging out, trying to get an aggressive equalize, but it's not going to happen quite yet as they're dying one by one. Magdalene going lower and lower, going to fall eventually. Now the Aces have the presence on the point, and Optic has a backup duplicate just in case. Thistle actually does get caught in the Dragons, almost goes down, but able to stay alive thanks to the Ana healing. Now, the kills are coming out in favor of the Aces. They're getting a lot, especially since they have the rally online, giving everyone armor. Iceman being so clutch with those. And thanks to the AoE damage from Thistle, it's very hard for Tracer to get anything done. Hacked out. Void Matter going down. Now all the pressure is on Lucio. Homer Sapien keep it alive. KJY now touching the field. But they're not getting any kills. They're in full stall mode, trying to get them to overtime. But they're going down one by one, and they're going to finish the map with 1:11 seconds on the point.
Yeah, and that, like I said, this is really, really difficult to play out. Really, really annoying for both sides here. Risky doing some really good hacks there onto the Wrecking Ball. So difficult to stall out with Wrecking Ball when there's a Sombra on the playing field. A hero that, if it weren't for how differently she has to play with compositions, I would almost be advising all teams to have somebody who can play Sombra just for dealing with Wrecking Ball. Because hacking out a Wrecking Ball just means you can't play the game at all. You play with Sombra and you sit on your healers, and when Wrecking Ball goes in to do that pile drive, you hack him out, and he's just completely free fodder for your team. So, something that I don't think Crusaders was really taking account for when they were looking for the stall.
Yeah, Crusaders doing their best to try and hold that out, but Aces, once they have a hold, they very seldom give it up. But we actually saw a great stall from Crusaders on point A. They weren't able to get the same magic on point B, but what was it that let them hold on for so long?
A lot of it came down to the line of sights that were available. BT1 can't get onto the point with the rest of the team, can't take the right side high ground from the defender's perspective, and without being able to have decent line of sight where they're safe to help keep his team alive, it's really, really difficult. It's one of the reasons that the Ana with the dive is really annoying. And then on top of that, Iceman's rally on A was really, really lackluster, only having Thistle in it for most of it, because Risky and Optic had to stay so far out of the fight because their heroes were just really, really susceptible to getting picked off because of the low health ground health. And then this time, yeah, I'm gonna just completely nullify the Symmetra.
Yeah, Symmetra not choosing to use the teleport at all, which proves to be a great mix-up because the wall catches Thistle off. Immortality Field, the only thing keeping them alive, but that is out of the picture now. The healing does come out on the side of the Aces, though, but Risky falls lower and lower. Symmetra Beam charging up now. Void Matter hoping to find some sort of kill, but the shields are in the way. But Silence is able to push through on a Thistle. Risky goes off the side, and with those 3 out of the picture, KJY finds another one. That is an amazing environmental kill there, and that's a lot of ultimates. They already have the Shatter and Amplification Matrix.
Yeah, with 10 seconds left, they are going to be struggling to be able to get to B, especially because they didn't send anybody up ahead. With 6 people on the point, they only need 3 to be able to get it, so they actually might be pushed into a little bit of a difficulty here as they try to take B. 30 seconds on the clock, as they did manage to grab it just before OT. I still would have liked them to put 3 people forward. If they'd sent Magdalene, Silence, and Homo Sapien up forward here, they would have already had this hold, and they would have been so ready. this teleporter is so nice, though, and not taking it despite it not going down.
They're actually using the teleporters to bait the aces into unfavorable positions. You can see Thistle trying to equalize with that shatter, but it's actually members of the aces who go down to the ground. Now, with that wall bisecting the point and the blizzard, the Crusaders are actually able to hold this out, getting all the kills they need, but they don't find that crucial pick onto Reaper, and because of that, Hold M1 is able to get to the point. They're trying to freeze him up, but they go off. Now, there's no percentage on the point quite yet, but this allows the aces to get the stall heroes out, but we haven't seen any successful stall quite yet. We're seeing Risky trying to get something with the Doomfist, but they go down before they're even able to get any value. Thistle not able to, don't have an ultimate quite yet. They're going to die as well, and with just Reaper on the point doing their best to survive, Void Matter is beaming everyone down, popping off, making sure no one can touch the beam, fully charged up. Microwave Oven takes out Lucio as well, and that will be 6 points on the board for the Crusaders.
Yeah, we're gonna go to 6 points, and it's gonna be at least 6-6 if we even draw. I am expecting this to keep going back and forth a little bit further. The defense here for Aces is just not working. Crusaders able to recognize how they can just push forward, and using that Symmetra, as you mentioned, to just kind of force Aces to have to respect it. We saw on A them able to defeat the teleporter before Crusader was able to push in. Second time around, they just decided not to take the high ground with the teleporter, and that was making Aces look the wrong direction. Really good use of the wall here coming out of Void Matter. Made it really, really good for their team to just be able to hold on the point.
Yeah,
And
we criticize the Crusaders a lot for not switching up compositions, but they did switch up playstyles quite a bit there, and that proved to be in their favor, but the Aces need to adapt in some way.
Yeah, and we are going to see them not running the dive this time, and I know I was very critical of it and was mentioning how there was a lot of things in the execution for that wasn't very well done. I'd still like, even if they ran everything, like if they had BT1 and Iceman running these two heroes with the rest of their dive, I think that would have actually been a lot stronger and a little bit more effective for them.
That is true, and now they're hoping to get something with Jolly Biscuit's Sniper, trying to shut down this push before it comes out, and Void Matter is crucially on that McCree, able to shut down Optic just a little bit, at least apply some pressure. But the pressure is really on Optic. See if they can get a flank off, get those sticky grenades in the middle of the field, but there's not a ton of time to build ultimates. They need to find something quick, but Thistle goes down immediately, or goes low immediately in the push, and Silence has the Discord on them as well. They're falling lower and lower, no Immortality Field this time. Jolly Biscuit also now discorded, falling low and low. Magdalene is the one who's first to fall, and Optic finds that flank like I was talking about, able to go around the back of the point, open it wide open, and now it's just Jolly Biscuit on the point.
Yeah, and we will see now, are they going to do the 3-3 split here? It does not look like it. Once again, we're going to have both teams six men on the point. Oh, no, it looks like... we will have Optics being a little bit of a you know, Renaissance master, understanding how the points work a little bit. 40 seconds, and they have Bob. We've seen how difficult it has been for Crusaders to deal with Bob in the past. All eyes on Magdalene here. That's going to be who I have my eyes on to stop it. KJY is able to help out with that with the boop as well as the shield bash, but it can be really difficult to approach that Bob sometimes with the little flimsy shield that Brig has.
Crusaders electing to hold all the way in the corner, but Void Matter going down early is crucial. However, Bob going down onto the low ground, that's not good at all. You're not going to get any value out of that. Aces now, they are able to equalize with that. Aces finding 2 crucial kills onto the very high damage heals. Hold M1 staking their claim onto the point, and with this double shield, it's going to be a lot better cleaning up than the dive. Void Matter getting beamed down so fast, and Thistle now stake their claim on the point. They have the amplification matrix on the field, counting down anyone who gets close to the point, using the Critic Flux to stop Diva from touching when they want to. And now, all the pressure is on Silence to find anything, but they get down so low already. Shields gone, Discord on them, but Void Matter's Tracer is trying to get work done. However, with Optic self-destruct on the point, no one's going to be able to touch, and the score is 6-6 on Hanamura.
And with a minute left on both sides, we really have to see one of these two teams shore up their defenses. The attack has been really strong from both sides, but neither of them have any real clue on how they're going to be holding anymore. And with Aces showing that they're not necessarily going to be running the dive every time, Crusaders definitely has to have a big question mark on how they're going to be holding A. as not something that they've been adjusting in any way, so Aces know what they are up against when they're drafting this defense, and we'll have to see how they decide that they're going to adjust to it. And again, eyes on Iceman here. I think that running the Brig has been really helpful for them. A lot of the time, I do like this. Optics now going to be bringing out the Symmetra of their own. I would actually kind of like it to see a Junkrat. I think Junkrat here, if they do their very defensive A hold, would be so pivotal to their ability to just do so much damage to shield break, as well as with how Risky and the rest of the team can play around this wall. Those grenades that Junkrat can provide would be so detrimental to the attack of Crusaders.
I think the Crusaders are stuck in their ways. They know that they want to use this Symmetra to the best efficiency, but it's going to be really hard to push onto the point when turrets are already there shutting them down.
Yeah, and we do see some really good turret placements here out of Optic. I really like it. It's going to make it so annoying no matter which doorway we see the other team come in from, as they are not afraid of showing that they're already on the back of this point.
Pushing onto the high ground now, this is a great place to push because you don't have to deal with as many turrets at one time, but the wall comes out, cuts off Magdalene, able to get the Immortality field up, stays alive for now, but Optics turrets, like you said, finding work. But Iceman does fall. That's a lot of the rally healing out of the picture. And now Thistle has to get aggressive to try and equalize, but they get beamed down right away. Now without that main tank in the way, there's no shield. Hold M1. All the pressure is on them to mitigate that damage. But Crusaders are doing a great job of keeping the pressure online. And with that wall, everyone is cut off from their healer. Optic will fall as well. Rixie, both DPS off the field. The Aces have no way to kill anyone. And that's going to be Crusaders getting 7 points on Hanamura.
Yeah, and this is really, really unfortunate again. So we're going to see it go over to overtime here. We might get that 30 seconds grace period again. I cannot remember for the life of me if we will or not. We will. So they do have this final push once again available to them. And ultimates are favoring the side of Crusaders quite heavily. Silence has the ultimate as this Void Matter, matched only by Optics. Thistle just getting theirs.
Oh, 2 big shields bisecting the point, making it really hard for any team to operate like they want to. However, Crusaders are doing a great job of doing a slow push. They know they just have to trigger overtime. You can see a big shatter from Thistle, but not able to find the kills they want. But the amplification matrix is throwing it right through there, getting 2. And with that, Baptiste out of the picture. They're able to clean up everyone. Void Matter getting 2 kills there, and now they're on the point. Team kill damage ticking up. Optic trying to get on to contest, but the Symmetra turrets are going to make it really hard for Doomfist to get anything done. Optic stunned out, and Thistle now. Oh, with this Blizzard on the point, there is no way anyone on Ace is going to be able to touch. It's just hold M1 dying slowly but surely. And now this is gonna be likely the Crusaders going up 8 with the shield on the point yet again. 2 shields in one fight. Crusaders have 8 points on Hanamura. I haven't seen this in a long time.
No, this is going back and forth, and like I said, just neither team able to quite figure out how they have to shore up their defenses and how to deal with this. And again, eyes on Aces. What are they going to be pulling out on this attack? Because the dive, while it is really strong and it's really effective, and I really like the idea behind it, the execution for it has been really, really sloppy. There's been a lot of questions that I've been raising about, in particular, BT1 and Risky on the Ana and the Sombra there. And for BT1, it's more the Ana as a pick with the team, and Risky has just not been impressing me with the Sombra play overall. Just some of the hacks not being as effective as they could be and not where they should be. So I would love to see them try it with the BAP Zen. I think it would give them a lot more options and a little bit more staying power, just because of the ability that BAP will have to stay with the team a little bit better because of his passive. So instead, we're going to see the exact same defense coming out of Crusaders and a very similar attack to the 0.5 and 6 attack out of Aces, as opposed to their 1, 2, 3, and 4.
What we saw shut the Crusaders down last time is a great flank from Optic, going around back, able to find surprise 2 kills. We'll see if they're ready to shut Optic down this time.
Yeah, all eyes have to be on Void Matter. It's going to be on him to really do a whole lot of work on this McCree. We will see as Iceman and Homo Sapien both running the Zenyatta this time.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard for any tanks to survive with that Discord Orb on them. And you can see pulling them in all to get hit by that Dynamite, but it's not really getting anything done. But Silence falling early is going to be crucial. Without that shield, you don't have the staying power you need. Now, with the supports being pressured, they have to pop the Immortality Field early, but it's not going to be enough to keep them alive. The Aces are able to sweep through this point. Risky getting quite a few. That fight, hold MW, getting everything else.
And that pick off onto Silence so early on in that fight absolutely broke it open. They didn't have the halt, they didn't have the extra shield. It made it so easy for Risky and Silence to just pull everything together. Or sorry, Thistle and Risky to pull everything together there. And we do see this time Thistle is going to be pushing up forward ahead a little bit. They're going to be able to take this choke point as the high ground now taken for Crusades. But no ultimates available for either side. We really have eyes on hold M1 as Thistle goes down so early in the fight.
That is really unfortunate. You can't let that happen, especially when you only have 20 seconds left. The question is now who is going to touch, because you only have 15 seconds left. You can see Thistle actually going onto the Reinhardt just to get back to the point faster. Now, 10 seconds on the board. Who's going to touch? I have to assume it's going to be Optic, because it's going to be really hard to any other way. Now, you see they're going across the bridge, trying to get something done, and Magdalene does get pressured a little bit, but you've spent a lot of resources in this push, and Iceman actually does go down in the back. Void Matter popping off in the back line. Optic trying to equalize, but it's not going to happen. It's all on the amplification matrices now, but they're on both sides. Risky now throwing that bomb onto the point, but it's not going to be the clutch factor you once saw, or maybe it is, because the percentage is ticking up, but spawn advantage is still there for the Crusaders. But they're already up to 2 ticks. Hold M1 is doing a great job keeping the pressure up, but that was just the Aces not being able to keep themselves on point. Thistle was able to get back on the Wrecking Ball, but they're in full stall mode now. They have no way to actually secure kills against this spawn advantage. The Crusaders doing a great job keeping them from even getting to the point, and this is going to be the Crusaders getting their first point on the board, able to stabilize after so many brutal rounds of Hanamura.
7-8, Crusaders take their first map, and I know at the beginning of this, Miles, you had mentioned that if Crusaders is able to draw this or win this, it's going to be absolutely detrimental to the Aces at mental, and I was kind of like, nah, it won't be that bad. But a 7-8 game is so long that that's a drain on your mental no matter whether you win or lose, and to lose to such small mistakes, and so definitively in a 4 back and forth round map here is going to be very difficult. Thankfully, both of these teams will get to have a 5-minute break that we're going to jump to momentarily to help recollect their thoughts. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere as we sit 3-1 with the Aces against Crusaders.
Welcome back, folks, and we have a series. We were promised by the Aces easy 4-0, and it looked like that might be the case, but in a grueling 8-7 set, the Crusaders were able to take it finally from the Aces, put themselves on the board. Now, we're going into Nepal, and they have a chance to extend their lead, but the Aces are on match point. They might be able to close it out here and now.
Yeah, Aces is going to be really, really interesting to watch here. Nepal is a map that there's a lot of options, again, for how you want to approach it, and I have my eyes really on the tanks for both sides here. I think that has been one of the key stories has been comparing how well Thistle and Hold M1 have been able to do with adding that damage as well to the team fights comparatively to Crusaders. Thistle and M1 being lighting up the kill feeds throughout both of these last two games. Very pivotal on that last map in particular as well. So being able to see how they are going to be playing here is the big difference. The other one has been those support duos. Has been very interesting to see, in particular the heroes that these two off supports, Homo Sapien and Iceman, have been more familiar and comfortable playing. I was talking very briefly about that last bit there. We had Iceman and Homo Sapien both running the Zenyatta, and it's very clear that Homo Sapien is a lot more comfortable on that hero than Iceman is.
Yeah, but we are going to see them both on it this time. However, what does worry me is this is a very Orisa-favored map. And, well, we've been seeing the Aces run Orisa Sigma the entire time, while the Crusaders have only just swapped over to it.
Yeah, it's something that Silence has looked relatively decent on, and I was very glad BT1 was almost giving me a heart attack there, pulling out the Brigitte, and actually Crusaders running the Lucio Zen. This is going to have to rely on Jolly, and going to get baited again, not going to even finish that point here. So we're going to push out here, double sniper going up against this Torbjorn sniper. I do really like how this Torbjorn can position and help make this fight really annoying for Crusaders with the turret placed in 3 or 4 different places at once.
As you can see, they're very comfortable with the Torbjorn on this map. You might have seen it in their highlight reel that they had us play at the beginning of this, but the Aces are actually getting pressured down a little bit by the double snipers. Thistle eating a headshot has to back up just a little bit, and because of that, the Crusaders are able to stake an early claim on the point. However, Hold M1 is getting sent out to contest, and because of that, there's no clear victor quite yet. However, the long-range damage is in the favor of the Crusaders, and they're doing a great job extending that. You can see the Crusaders now rotating around into the low ground, into that room, and they're able to get the cap. Now percentage ticking up for them, Risky going down, and because of that, the Aces are going to back up just a little bit.
Yeah, and this is a really good crossfire that we have coming out of Crusade, with where Void Matter and Jolly Biscuits are, making it so difficult for Aces to be able to push up forward from where they are, as Amplification Matrix being used really early here.
Void Matter popping off, getting 3 kills right there, ending that push, like, ending the push after it before it started.
Yeah, it's something that it's actually a little bit questioning for both sides there. The Amplification Matrix is already forcing Aces out, and then Void Matter getting those kills. Absolutely impressive individual play, but something that they actually would have liked to keep them hold up in that corner. It was very difficult for Aces to be able to push out of this corner here, and gonna stop that push once again. Void Matter getting the kill onto Risky.
Void Matter putting on a clinic this map. They've gotten so many critical hits, so I'd love to see the stats on that. Silence shutting down Hold M1 right there, and because of that, Aces are gonna have to regroup once again.
Yeah, and we will be seeing, like, it has been very, very difficult for both of these teams to deal with that, as we are getting, you know, into this here. This positioning that Aces has been trying to hold is very common for them to do with the Torbjorn, but because of the crossfire that Jolly Biscuit and Void Matter have available to them, it's just making it next to impossible for them.
You see the Amplification Matrix zoning out where the Crusaders want to hold. Jolly Biscuit falling lower and lower, and the turret will eventually finish them off. Now, with a flank from Risky taking out Silence, the crossfire is too much for the Crusaders. They're going to have to back up, but they have 92% on the point, 93.
Yeah, and we're going to have this be last fight territory. Really does force Aces to survive, as that turret is very, very low. Not getting healed up yet by Optic. This is very questionable. There's no reason for him not to. Going to actually try repositioning it here. But I'm really worried because they don't have any control over this low ground area, and we could see Crusaders just kind of push around in the back there with the rest of their team. Leave Void Matter over on the left-hand side here to keep taking pot shots. Really open up this cross matter as they take the low ground here.
Yeah, Bob being thrown on a point to contest, but you left Void Matter alone for 1 second too long, Risky, and that's going to cost you your life. But on the point, Valley Biscuit and Homo Sapien are going to fall, and Bob is still uncontested. It's going to force remaining Crusaders into the low ground, but they're able to slowly tick up percentage on this point. Because of that, Thistle has to go out to contest, but Thistle is actually going to get pulled off the side by Silence. As you can see, Iceman is going to have to pop the Transcendence just to get on point, but because of Thistle falling, you have no one to contest really. It's just Iceman on point. So many ultimates being thrown down now, and because of that, WM1 throwing themselves on point, but they're going to die quickly as well with the Discord on them. Thistle now going onto the ball, trying to hold down, but Void Matter now uncontested, firing away, pot shot after pot. This is amazing. Void Matter just putting on a clinic, cleaning up that fight as they're stumbling in, and that's going to be a Crusaders taking point A.
Yeah, now this is looking really rough for Aces because they now have to do 2 here. This is really, really kind of head scratchy for the decision from Aces where they were holding. They didn't have any control over the point, and we knew that the double or the dissection was going to come out of Jolly Biscuits and Void Matter. They knew that was going to happen. They've been seeing and dealing with it the entire point so far, and it coming through once again, we see it so strong. They got control of that low ground, and there was absolutely nothing Aces could do to deal with it because they couldn't ever rotate into any position to be able to take that. We do have a slight pause here for our production side. Unfortunately, some of those network issues that we had hoped had been resolved between game 2 and 3 have propped back up once again. So we're going to just take a quiet moment here as we get to talk a little bit more about some of this map as we hope to resolve this. And yeah, no, I'm very concerned, Miles, because them holding in this back corner didn't ever really allow for them to contest the point, and they gave it over for free.
And because of that, they made it... Okay, we've got to talk about Void Matter. We can't dance around the subject. Void Matter pulling out this Widowmaker from practically nowhere and showing that they are a sniper to be feared. Like you said, that back corner, great for Torbjorn sometimes, but when the shield keeps going down and Void Matter keeps getting picks, what can the Aces really do to avoid that?
They need to be taking into the low ground, taking away the line of sight, making it so that they're fighting brawlily in a position where there's no way for Void Matter to keep this cross section and the dissection away from Aces, and then committing so heavily, so far away in that back corner was just really, really risky and kind of questionable because they couldn't ever contest the Widowmaker. They couldn't contest the Hanzo. They couldn't deal with the double shields in the bottom corner. And the Torbjorn, well, the ultimate was really beautifully placed. Nobody moved in off of it, and that meant that it didn't actually do anything other than make the percentage tick up for Aces by about another 5%, and that wasn't enough because they didn't manage to capitalize off of that afterwards. They weren't close enough to force OT, and they weren't close enough to really force any pressure on the Crusaders.
Now, I do want to touch on Crusaders have turned around the Aces strategy. The Aces thrived in the first few maps of forcing the Crusaders to commit, but the Aces actually forced a lot of sloppy committals that time, and Silence is able to get a clutch pick on a BT1. That's going to be huge. Without that Baptiste in the way, it's going to be really tough to operate, but Optics turrets on the point are going to make it just as difficult. You can see Crusaders actually rotating around to the other side of the point now, hoping to find something better there, but a wall is in their face now. The tanks are cut off from the healers, but oh my gosh, an early shatter from Silence is able to catch Risky on the ground, and because of that, Thistle is going to fall trying to save them. With that, the Aces are on runaway mode, dying slowly but surely, and that's going to be Crusaders getting first take.
Potentially, this is looking really back and forth here as we do see it eventually turning, but a lot of time spent and really a lot of ultimates built up as well for Aces here. So we'll see how they want to hold here as we're pulling another pause coming in. Once again, we apologize for all of these pauses tonight. There's a lot of issues on network sides, so make sure that you guys are staying safe. because it seems like there might be some weather issues in a bunch of different places that would be causing this.
Now, on a more game-sided perspective, I do want to point out, even though the Aces lost that, look at their ultimate economy. 3 ults on the board, a couple more coming up, and meanwhile, the Crusaders don't really have anything.
Yeah, so they do have Homo sapien with the ultimate, and that's going to be nice to help stall out a little bit, but not going to really get them a whole lot of advantages. Silence's Shatter is going to have to be huge, but the ultimates that are going to be coming out for Aces isn't going to be anything that's going to make them susceptible when they are shattered. And actually, if Optics plays this well, we'll be able to stuff Silence's Shatter themselves. So it's looking very easy for a retake here from Aces. That being said, if anything goes wrong for them, if Optic or BT1 get picked off really early again, this is going to starting to swing back in the way of Crusaders because they're starting to build a lot of those ults. KJY will have one at the end of this fight. Magdalene will be close to one at the end of this fight. And I would expect Void Matter or Jolly Biscuit to be able to have one by the end of this fight, if not by the start of the following fight. So if by some chance Crusaders manages to get an early pick and then start up and get the swing back in their favor, it's going to look really, really difficult, and we will likely be going to a map 7.
That means so much pressure falls on the shoulders of Jolly Biscuit. They need to throw up a wall, get that early pick like they did with BT1 last time, enable their team to get that ult out of the picture.
Yeah, so if this is how it goes, BT1, Optics, or Iceman, any of those 3 get picked off, this is looking like it can very easily swing on the side for Crusaders. And if not, this is going to go back and forth for a little while because I expect that it'll probably come down to 2 ultimates coming in from the side of Aces to be using this fight. Probably BT1 and either Optic or Iceman. And then the other ultimate will be able to help them be able to get into the next fight where Thistle and Hold M1 will be, again, close to an ultimate of their own. So we have to see, and I love this rotation coming out of Crusaders to take the high ground.
Yeah, they're going up top, giving themselves a lot of long-range poke damage. They don't really have it, but it enables them to completely avoid the wall that could come out. Now, the Aces have to commit the wall from Symmetra right there on the point, but that's a huge shatter from Silence getting forward to the ground, enabling them to open up. But Iceman commits that sound barrier. They want to win this fight very, very badly. They've committed all 3 of those big ultimates that we've talked about now. Thistle slamming everyone to the ground. They win this fight single-handedly, but I do have to worry because now all they're going to have is this Blizzard.
And Hold M1 using the bongos there, really, really difficult decision. Unfortunate because this means that KJY still has ulti, Jolly Biscuit's gonna have ulti, Risky has ulti. So we can actually see KJY beat the Blizzard coming out of Risky, which means that Crusaders don't have to worry too much about the damage that will come through and follow up on that. And then Jolly Biscuit can use a Blizzard later afterwards instead of Blizzard denying Blizzard.
Yeah, you can see throwing the Blizzard down and walling them off. There's no escape for a lot of the members of the Aces, frozen up, but no kills actually coming out because of a double Blizzard from Risky. Now, it's pretty much an even fight as the immortality fields allow everyone to get healed up, but that's going to be a huge fire strike, catching 2, and Silence is able to clean up the rest of that, sweeping through, and Crusaders going to retake with a team kill.
Yeah, now with Void Matter still having ultimate, nothing coming up anytime soon for Aces. BT1 going to be the closest to something there. Thistle able to get one with about 3 or 4 swings of the hammer. Silence also able to match that though, so this is going to be really, really rough. Gotta have your eyes on Void Matter, and we have to have something in prepared for Aces to deal with that. Likely going to be a charge, or Risky going to have to get the wall off to really stop Void Matter from taking this fight and just running away with it.
You see the wall used early to try and catch someone out, but it's actually going to be Silence who's caught without their team, committing the shatter, but not going to be able to find anyone. And because of that, the amplification matrix goes unchallenged, but Void Matter drops down, gets BT1, and because of that distraction, everyone else surges in. Silence getting 3, and with 95% on the point, Crusaders are going to put themselves on the board 2-3 against the Aces.
Yeah, and that was very well played by Void Matter, really well done by Crusaders. Just understanding their win condition, playing around it really, really well, and an unfortunate situation that Iceman wasn't able to get the beat off in time. I wasn't sure if they quite had it before the Death Blossom came out or after they went down with it, but something that's so unfortunate for them is they're now looking at the mental that we were talking about before. This is where you start to question, is this what's happening? Is this going to start affecting how they're thinking of how they want to play? And who's going to step up to really stop that downward spiral?
And more importantly, this was the Aces pick. They wanted to go to Nepal and they got kind of stomped on it. So with such a dominant showing, where are the Crusaders going to focus next? Or where are the Aces going to take them next, rather?
That is a very good question, and I think a lot of that comes down to some poor alt economy management from Aces there on that second point in particular. I know you touched on it where they used Shatter, Beat, Window, Wall, and Bongos all in for the retake that they managed to get, or the second retake here from the Aces. And the Orisa ultimate going down, there was a lot of overkill and really unfortunate because it meant that they didn't have anything for when the Crusaders came for their attack back. So unfortunately, this was, just a loss to alt economy and Void Matter doing such a great job. And yes, being able to take a look on the stream with the stream delay. Thankfully, we do see that Iceman was able to have the beat available for it, but taken down just as Void Matter used it. So that is why we didn't see Beat able to help keep Aces alive in that final fight there.
And we've seen Silence really step up. The tank duo of Thistle and Hold MW1 has been, well, kind of dominating throughout those first 3 maps. But Silence and Magdalene have shown they are formidable tanks of their own, especially in the end there. Silence, I'd say they coordinated more with their DPS than Magdalene there, doing so well to push in with Void Matter as the Reaper charged in, and Silence is getting a lot of the kills.
Yeah, and I really like this variation of the Orisa Reinhardt. I think it's a little bit easier to play than Sigma Orisa, and I think it has a lot of advantages because of how the Reinhardt can play comparatively. You do lose yet a little bit on the Rock and the CC ability, but the damage that Reinhardt can provide, especially close up, and especially with the cleave that the hammer provides, just makes it very annoying to deal with in those small spaces that you get to on these sorts of maps. We'll have to see where Aces are taking us to. Will be Hollywood for our 6th map here. Hopefully Aces are able to clutch it out. If not, we're going to go to a map 7, and that's something that Aces definitely don't want to be feeling the pressure on their heads right now, as they were up 3-0 previously. Even the 2-3 has to start being wearing on the mental there.
Yeah, you do not want to get reverse swept, especially in the finals where it's hardest to get reverse swept. So now as we go into Hollywood, do you think we'll see any compositional changes? Because personally, double shield is what I've been seeing a lot on ladder.
Double shield on Hollywood is really, really strong. I actually really like the Torbjorn variation that we saw being played in the Grand Finals that we got to do together, Miles. I just didn't really like how the Torbjorn was placed. The turret was in a really awkward place, didn't get a lot of value early on. So I would like to see if they do something like that, a variation of it. Otherwise, having the Ashe and then even the Mei or a McCree, even Soldier to have really good cafe control could be really, really strong here.
And now we might be seeing just that. We've seen a lot of amazing hit scan play from both Risky and Void Matter. And it's really unclear who's going to pick first. I don't think we're going to see that double sniper once again, even though I loved seeing Widowmaker pop off for the first time in a while.
That being said, Crusaders and Void Matter running the Widowmaker on the attack is something that they absolutely could do. There's that Palmwood that we used to see Hollywood being abused for the pop-up Widowmaker duels that we saw way back in year 1 of Overwatch. I believe even before Owl was a thing, just after some of the hero limitations were introduced. So we will have the hope alive for you, Miles, to see that Widowmaker coming out once again.
Fingers crossed, but as we get into it, we'll be seeing a more confirmation.
Yeah, so the other thing that makes this difficult is that there's a lot of different places and ways you can hold this map, and because of the rotations that are available, it really does depend what the defense wants to pick here, how attackers want to play and need to play to be able to counteract that. Dive is also something that can be rather strong here because of just the cafe control and high ground control. So we will see, and we are going to have that Torb, Ashe coming out, BT1 on the Baptiste, and Iceman sticking with this Brig. I do like it as long as everybody's sitting in this cafe. I'm having my eyes on Optic. This turret placement has to be really, really clever and really smart. Otherwise, we're going to see a repeat of what we did in the Grandmaster Grand Finals. and Optic instead going to opt for a much more straight up fight here with the Echo here. I don't disagree with it. I don't dislike it. I would have really liked to have been able to see what Optic was going to do with that Torbjorn though.
Meanwhile, though, double sniper on the side of Crusaders looks like they're sticking with it. They have a lot of pick potential, and Void Matter is able to have the opportunity to shoot Optic out of the sky. Hopefully, they'll be able to do it.
I have to point to Iceman here in a really awkward spot for this Brig. Having this high ground control doesn't really do anything. Brig can't do anything from up here. She doesn't want to be up here, and especially with the AoE damage that we can see coming out of Void Matter, it can be really easy to be picked off. It's something we saw happening a couple of times in the Grandmaster Finals as well.
You can see they're already having to give up that high ground control, falling back to point. Not a great spot to hold, especially with the double shield pushing around the corner now, but that's a huge dynamite on the side of Risky, forcing everyone. Crusaders very, very low. They're able to stay alive for just a little bit, able to heal up, but that's a lot of ult going to Risky. But it's going to be Optic who's going to be the first to fall, caught out a little bit on their landing. Homo Sapien does get taken out. That's the Discord out of the way now, but the amplification matrix is going to make it pretty much equalize the fact that there's no Discord. You can see Aces now rotating onto the high ground even as pick goes to Crusaders, but they're essentially swap spots. Now the Aces are on the attack trying to retake their point, and with Optic coming back from spawn taking out KJY, there's no sustain for the side of the Crusaders, no healing even as Homo Sapien arrives back to point. Void Matter tries to equalize, but it's not going to happen. That's going to be Aces holding.
Yeah, and that was really, really lucky. I would like to see them immediately reset, take this high ground. I don't want them on the low ground. I don't want them taking this corner. I want them to be playing it safe on the high ground. I want M1 to be back with his team. I don't want him to be off on his own, kind of left off to hopefully not get picked off. And not what we're going to be seeing, and this leaves me really worried for Ace's ability to hold this.
Yeah, we can see the amplification matrix already coming out, making it really hard for Crusaders to push in, but not a lot of damage actually being found with it. Crusaders doing a great job of disengaging, and now Iceman is popping the rally. They had time to build it up thanks to the amplification matrix, and now the entire team is armored up. They have a lot of damage mitigation. Bob sent right on to point. Both Bobs on the field actually, but the Transcendence is out on the side of Crusaders, give them the same they need to take out Bobs. Both Bobs dead without really any struggle, but everyone caught in that gravitic flux. Optic throwing everyone in the ground. Now, with everyone on the Aces so low, they have to back up, but Crusaders didn't capitalize because they are also very low. This war of attrition is going on for so long. You can see Thistle now already has the bongo, but so does Thistle. They're gonna both be popping at the same time, it looks like, but with that, Silence is gonna die before they can use it, and Optic is gonna clean up the rest of the team. It's gonna be Aces holding once again.
Yeah, and that was really unfortunate mix-up when they used the Dragons with Magdalene's ult to the Graviton Flux there. The Dragons were sent just a little bit too low to be able to get chip damage with them raised up into the sky, and so when they dropped down into the Dragons, it was the very tail end, didn't get the maximum amount of damage off of it, and that's why we got to see Aces stay alive throughout that. And that being said here, Ultimate still favoring Aces, Risky and BT1 having a lot of availability, especially with this Bob. We've seen it really open up fights before, and just being forced back continuously here. I do like this rotation coming out of Crusaders. However, with two of their members cut off, they have to reconvene here to take the corner once again.
Pushing out through the front side, but it doesn't matter because Optic sticky grenades are able to find Void Matter right away. The Crusaders have to use Transcendence right away just to keep themselves in the fight, but Bob from Risky once again. This was their clutch card so many times before, but KJY ends that right away with some headshots from Discord. Now, Aces are forced into the inside, but they're not actually taking that much damage except for Optic caught out. They're not able to use their duplicate to stay alive, and because of that, the spawn advantage from the Crusaders is actually giving them an opportunity. Dragons now cutting the point in half, and Iceman getting pulled into it. This is a big opportunity from the Crusaders. They need to follow up on it, and they do. Pushing in, getting Void Matter able to kill hold WM1, and thanks to that, the cleanup coming out. Crusaders are finally able to take point A.
And Optic once again going down before using the duplication here. Very important. They will still have it here. Close spawns for a couple. This is going to make it really difficult for Aces where they want to hold. Optic needs to be able to get this ulti off because I don't think they want to be playing the Echo through. In particular, C. There are some places on B where it's not too bad, but for the rest of it, you really don't want to be running this Echo. Yes, so we will be... asking for a momentary pause because we do still have a couple of issues on the productions, and we apologize profusely for it. Unfortunately, nothing we can do. So, Miles, this very last moment take really came down to Void Matter and Jolly Biscuit getting that kill onto Optic, because if that duplicate had come through onto the Sigma, the staying power for Aces would have been really, really difficult.
What I really want to see is Optic playing maybe a little bit more passively, because even though they've been getting some clutch kills, the 2 times they've died early, they went a little too high and they got caught out on their landing by the double Hanzo and Ash. So maybe they just need to team a little bit more, play a little bit more grounded, because at the moment they are falling prey to getting discorded and taken out by the double sniper.
Yeah, it's really difficult to do it because they only have the Iceman's orbs to rely on keeping them alive here, because this is just really annoying and difficult for them. And Zenyatta's healing is a little bit more like a damage reduction, is a lot easier way of understanding it. So this is, you know, a little bit difficult, and just not being able to get the duplicate off from Optics is really, really unfortunate for that A-hold. I don't know if the more grounded is the right answer, because you don't want to play Echo very grounded. You need to abuse that mobility to get around and above those shields. And since that's not happening, and not being able to work very well for them, it's a little bit difficult for Optics to play the way that you need and want to.
Now, speaking of Optics, they do still have that duplicate because they died with it. So who would you recommend duplicating in this Crusaders composition?
Sigma. Having the double Sigma shield on the rock, as well as the damage that you can put out for it, gives you so much staying power. The E or the shift and being able to absorb a lot of damage, it's just so oppressive. And we're going to get an immediate pick here from Risky, and that's going to let them actually get a lot of space and able to hold both the first and second fight places that you want to be able to hold on Hollywood B. There are really 4 good places to hold and fight on, this being one of them. Optics Risky having ult here is going to make it really, really annoying for Crusaders to push through despite the ult of their own.
Yeah, that was a great disengage, though. It doesn't let the Aces get any real ultimate advantage, but with the Bob going in, Risky popping off, they created the space for themselves to get the picks, and because of that, that's going to be the fight over for the Crusaders before it really starts.
Yeah, Optic using that duplicate here on KJY to get the Baptiste. I do like that, being able to use the immortality there to help keep Risky's Bob alive as well. I would have liked to see Optic hold off another half second to kind of get a feel for what the fight was going to look like before committing 2 ultimates to it. Thankfully, there are 2 ultimates that are building relatively quickly. Not everything else is offline either, so BT1 and Iceman will have opportunities to build ultimates here, as Hold M1 and Thistle use ult. And
Bob goes onto the point right away, but because everyone's thrown up into the air, the chaos isn't really there. Bob doesn't get any value, and everyone dies in the process. It's going to be
Unfortunately,
Crusaders.
that fight was way too fast. Iceman and BT1 didn't actually be able to build any ultimates. So Hold M1 and Thistle using both of their ultimates back to back. Once again, just would like to see wait half a second to see if the other ultimate was required, and see if he could have potentially layered them a little bit more effectively to help out.
We can see Magdalene now catching 3 in the Gravitic Flux, but the Immortality Field going to keep everyone alive, and they have the panic button of the Transcendence if things go south. But you can see Optic going for the flank, not going to find anything quite yet, and Thistle's going to go down. Without that main tank, it's going to be very, very hard to operate. Optic spotted out by Void Matter. Void Matter jumps up with the shotgun and actually takes them out. Now the rest of the Aces is bottled up in the backline. They don't want to be here. They're in a very dire situation. But the Crusaders are in overtime, so if they don't clean up this threat in the backline yet, they're gonna have a nasty surprise waiting for them. However, right now, the Amplification Matrix being committed on the point. Both Transcendence is out, keeping everyone alive for now, but the Dragon is gonna come out right as they expire. Not gonna catch anyone except BT1. That's a huge pick. Without that healing, both supports are now down on the side of the Aces. With even the Bob on point, there's no one really to follow up on it. You can see Optic trying to clutch out, but they're the only one alive. And as they slowly get finished off, though they do throw everyone up onto the point, they are still alive throughout all of this. You can see they're trying to get back to the point, and BT1 is actually able to keep the Wick alive for just a little bit longer, but it's not going to be enough as the Crusaders roll into the 3rd point of Hollywood.
Yeah, this is starting to get really scary once again here for Aces. A lot of ultimates going forward, a lot of ultimates being used, Optic switching over to this Torbjorn. Gonna have my eye on where that turret goes down. I have a couple of places in mind for where you'd want it on C. Nothing too great, unfortunately. I don't think you would get as much value here as you could with some other heroes. So definitely want to see that how it's played, what it does. But them being able to get that stagger there onto Thistle at the end gave them so much space here.
Amplification Matrix being committed right away gives them the pressure they need to take down whole WM1. The spawn advantage is there, but only if they don't let anyone else go down in the process, because Orisa does not have that much shielding power. Void Matter does find Thistle, though. That's huge. That means even if whole WM1 comes back, you're still not going to have the shields you need. You're only 1.44 meters away, and you can see whole WN1 getting desperate, trying to catch everyone in that, but the Amplification Matrix Immortality Field does keep them alive for now. You can see Thistle now on the ball, desperation stall pick, and it actually does work out, throwing KJY into the air to die. Risky's Dynamite is actually going to find the kills they need to, but Crusaders are committing to this, using their Gravitic Flux as well, but Thistle is popping off. Thistle's getting 3 kills with this Hammond now. Crusaders are not going to be able to touch. Homo Sapien going to have to commit the Transcendence just to trigger overtime, and they are able to do it. However, what are they realistically going to do? The spawn advantage is here for the Aces. You can see they're trying to get back into Crusaders, throwing the dragon from spawn, hoping to catch someone while the Aces are distracted. However, Body's on the point. Void Matter finds Optic. That's huge. Without that Doomfist, you don't have the one-shot kill that you want to shut down things, but Thistle is able to kill their Hammond counterpart with Silence going down. No tanks on the field for the Crusaders, and with KJY going down as well, it's full stall mode. It's just Void Matter trying their best to stay alive. Homo Sapien now the only hope left, but with the that's going to be it. Ace is holding.
I have to point out that Optic on that Torbjorn didn't even have a turret out for the initial bit of that fight, and that's why we saw it go so easily, heavily in the favor of Crusaders here. 2-0, but this is a very far push on Hollywood. Very easy to be able to stall out in B. This is dangerous for us going to 3-3 on our map here. And you know, you were up 3-0. You guys are very concerned about actually losing this set now when you had everything in your pockets for the last 3 maps.
Now, I don't expect we'll see any switch-ups coming out, because both of them are very confident in their playstyles, especially putting their faith in Optic to get those picks you need. Oh, but never mind. This is the pick that we might love to see. Thistle going over to the Winston. Sombra dive comp we saw on Hanamura.
I love the composition. I still would love to see BT1 on the Baptiste instead of the Ana, Iceman onto the Zenyatta, or even a Lucio. Iceman being very, very reluctant to play either of those off supports, though, unfortunately. So we will have to see how well we're gonna see Crusaders able to manipulate that and defend this. So we will see. We might have some difficulty with Game 7 if we go there, as we see both teams asking a couple of questions about that, which we will be dealing with after this game. So if we have a slightly longer pause, it's most for our players' sake, as Risky getting taken out so quickly here, and that's going to be 30 seconds.
That is a crucial pick, especially because Risky is not going to be able to start building up to that EMP, which is their fight winner.
I don't necessarily know if EMP is going to be a win con necessarily for this team. It's definitely going to be able to help them shut down a couple of things, help them open up KJY and Homo Sapien. But I do think that there are a lot of win cons, but mostly I have my eyes on Optic. I think the picks coming through from Optic and how Hold Them on Thistle and Optic all play together around Risky getting these hacks off is a lot more important than the EMP, because of we don't see Risky going for a more farm style Sombra.
The Nano is already out on a Thistle, but Hold WM1 goes down so fast you don't have the D.Va in play now. You're trying to finish off the Ashe with this Winston, but meanwhile in the front line it's looking like Risky and Iceman are going down, and Thistle falls suit in the back line. That's going to be it for this push from the Aces.
Yeah, so that's not the end of the push. Optic deciding they want to commit the duplication here. Risky getting back.
Optic is trying to clutch this out a little bit, and the Sigma is actually putting a lot of pressure on. You see everyone is actually going low. Both tanks already down on the side of Crusaders. Even though that looked like a one fight for them, Aces were able to turn it around, and all the credit goes to Optic, choosing to say, no, this is winnable. We can do this. And duplicating that Sigma, keep alive, AoE damage to slowly chip away at the tank line inside, and eventually that led to their team getting back, finishing it off. And that was just amazing echo play all around.
That was very well done by Optic, yes. And as I was trying to say before Optic decided to win the fight instead of letting me talk, risky on this Sombra. The hacks haven't been coming through, EMPs haven't been too great, and we are going to be going to another pause, unfortunately. So it gives us a little bit more time to talk about the Sombra. A hero that we don't see a whole lot of because she's not the easiest to pilot. She relies on you understanding the composition you're playing against really, really well to disrupt it. So we're not seeing the hacks coming through on Magdalene to stop the shield from coming through. We're not seeing the EMP getting a lot of value because it's not being farmed and it's not being built super effectively. BT1 and Iceman are having difficulty with being able to help keep Risky and Optic alive because of all of the shields and all of the mobility that is on the rest of the side of Aces. And like I said, just Risky is playing a lot more of that assassin Sombra and not getting any value with the hacks or the flanks that they're getting. I would almost rather see them be playing a Tracer with the way that they're playing Sombra right now.
Yeah, that is unfortunately true. The hacks have been a little bit good, able to get Magdalene down occasionally, but like you said, it's really not finding the value that you need. Meanwhile, you have questioned BT1's Ana pick, and I agree with you for the most part, but it seems like a lot of their game plan seems to revolve around uh their farming for Nano and putting the Nano onto Thistle as a huge fight opener, and that worked to their favor really well.
It has been. A lot of that is because the snipers coming in from the side of Crusaders haven't been able to punish it very well. BT1 has been able to take a little bit more aggressive sightlines to be able to keep up with that healing, but Jolly Biscuit and Void Matter not being able to get those kills and prevent those is very unfortunate because it is allowing them to be able to get away with this Ana pick. And if it was just the Ana and not the Brig, if the Brig was a Lucio or even another more main healer, a Mercy or a Moira, it would be a lot less concerning to me. But because of the two heroes that are being used to support this dive in conjunction with each other, there's a lot of openings and problems that can be exploited.
I apologize. You need to pause the
A lot of
match. You need
different,
to keep it paused.
And we're back, everybody. Sorry about all the pauses. There was a bit of a problem where one of the players on Crusaders had to leave involuntarily. Both teams have elected voluntarily to allow a ringer, so it's not a 5v6. So we're going to be unpausing to that situation once we're ready.
Yeah, Anime Warriors is coming in here to make up for Magdalene having to leave, and that's the reason we're giving. It was actually that production wanted me to stop talking about Sombra, so we're going to avoid Sombra discussions for the rest of this. A little bit of a joke there. No, we have no issues with that. So we will be seeing how we're going to see Risky. EMP is available now. A very easy ultimate to farm if that's how you're playing for it. And gonna have to keep an eye on Homo Sapien, one of the easy pickoffs when that EMP comes through. But with the Transcendence, can easily shut it down and buy the time to be able to get around it.
Now, as we can see, Risky does have the EMP, which is going to be used right away, able to immediately eliminate Homo Sapien. That's going to be huge. Optic able to clean up. Pretty much an easy fight, but you used a lot of ultimates there. You really are only going to have the tank ultimates for this last push.
Yeah, I didn't notice that Iceman had used their ultimate there. It wasn't really needed. As soon as the EMP went off, that was a victory for the fight because they got Homo Sapien. There was no way for them to get any stall off. And some bad spawns there could actually really open up space for Crusade or for Aces to push in here.
As you can see, oh my gosh, Aces are going on a rampage, just running right into the Crusader spawn and saying, nope, I don't want you to live here either, and evicts them. It's going to be another easy fight win when there didn't really need to be a fight.
Yeah, and that's actually something I'm really happy with. It's something that you have to be aware of when you get these early spawns and these late fight losses here, as going to actually see Crusaders trying to get aggressive here. Oh,
bomb goes right into the middle of everyone. It does not. It only finds Void Matter, and holding WM1 does actually die in the midst of it. However, this is enough kills to mitigate spawn advantage, and you can see Thistle just juggling someone in the corner. KJY dead. Now it's going to be tough for anyone to get back into the point, much less actually win this fight. You can see now, Silence is making their way back. They actually did get staggered enough. The Transcendence is there to keep them alive long enough to get anything done, and Optic knocked out of their transformation. Now, with the kills going slightly in the favor of the Crusaders, they're able to stabilize just a bit on this last point with the spawn advantage.
Yeah, so now we're going to have to see how this EMP can be used. What it all comes down to, 3 minutes here to be able to stall out for about a foot or two of space on this car is going to be really difficult. BT1 also at 50% for this ultimate, as is Iceman. So on this fight, if there's a really solid EMP, especially if it's one that can be used to nullify the amplification matrix coming out from KJY, we could see Aces being able to finally finish the set 4-2 as amplification matrix comes out, and instead of having to use an ultimate, they're just gonna not walk forward.
Yeah, that's quite a few seconds bought, and now you can see Risky trying to push around to the right side, trying to stay undetected, don't want to get spotted out right away, just barely avoid that Sonic Arrow, and now they're in prime position. Crusaders expect nothing, and they're all clumped up, but that's a big pick on a BT1. You don't want to push in right now. You don't have that main healer to support you, and Risky is just going to elect to hold where they are.
Yeah, and this is one of the big issues that I was talking about with the Ana and the Brig, because the Ana is their main healing. When Ana goes down from any sort of pick, because she has to take corners to still maintain line of sight with this dive, if she gets taken out by Void Matter or Jolly Biscuit, Iceman doesn't have enough healing to help keep this team alive.
Oh, there's the EMP, comes out onto everyone. With that, the Nano goes onto the Winston, and now this is the Aces looking to finish off this map. They know they can do it right here and now. You can see Silence is anti. It's really just Anime Warrior on the point trying their best, but the golden box of victory is right there. Remember, the Crusaders did not actually finish this map. If they're able to touch this, this is going to be the Aces taking the series. That's going to be the Aces beating the Crusaders 4-2. It looked like the Crusaders might have been able to bring it back, but it was not meant to be. Aces able to clutch it out with their dive comp coming out of nowhere right at the end, and Risky taking the play of the game.
Yeah, I have to. Yes, this EMP was so pivotal here. Just incredibly important to be able to get Homo Sapien there, because this opened up so much time for them to have on C because of this. Unfortunately, a little bit of it because of the swaps coming through, and we already see both teams very happy to have the series over. A lot of players complaining about being unable to eat. So gonna have very fortunate for that. We will be deliberating on our MVP, and I will come back to let you know about the status of an MVP interview, as I'm pretty sure most people are ready to call it a night with a very, very long series here for our Diamond Grand Finals. So congratulations to Aces once again taking the series 4-2 against the Crusaders in the Diamond Grand Finals. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to let you know about the status of this endgame interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. When we last saw each other, the Aces took it, and we are going to give the MVP to Optic, who we have with us right here. How are you doing, Optic?
I am doing amazing. Feeling myself right now.
Finally have your food in
with
you?
great reason too. Some amazing echo play coming out of you across those 6 games. I have to ask you, that decision to throw in the duplicate when you were the only one left on A on Hollywood, what was the thought for that?
It's like almost half the team was dead, right? I'm my echo, so if I just transform in there and I can just get the sickle real quick, and in my transformation, if I just kill one person, I'll be full of health back on echo, so I can still finish, and by that time my team will come back. And Thistle, he was just screaming at me, winnable, winnable, winnable. So, it's that team synergy. You gotta trust each other. So I just trusted him, and it worked out.
And beyond just that one point, in general, you were always going on those flanks, opening up the team to, let your team sweep into them. So what was the mentality when you went on those flanks?
It's like in my team, I'm known as the enter. I just int in and get picks. Even if I do die, it just gets tons of value. If I just go in there, they're going to be like distracted, and they're not going to be focused on my main tanks, and they can do their job better because I'm just distracting them, making them go crazy on the back line. If I'm talking too fast, you can tell me. Talk a little fast.
All right. Well, congratulations on getting the MVP for the finals. Stole it away from Hold WM1.
I told him I was coming for his trophy.
Anyways, though, we thank you so much for joining us. We are now going to talk to Thistle, a fellow caster and the captain of the Aces. How are you doing, Thistle?
Optic's gonna make me cry, man.
Emotions definitely running high after such a long, grueling set. We were talking a little bit about the mental, and Miles was very, very adamant about you talking about how it was going to be a 3-0 in a first to 4 against Crusaders.
Was I wrong?
The 3-0 was easy, but that wasn't the win you were looking for.
No, I think they just wanted to let me have a little bit of fun before the antics started. We went back and checked. That match on Hanamura was 33 minutes long.
Yeah, it was
kind of insane.
Definitely something, and I think Miles will agree with me here. You as a caster understand how long those overtime situations can get to, especially as a play-by-play.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad.
You better. So
genuinely, I felt bad. Like, we were sitting here laughing, having a good time. A lot of the time, we would get tilted at something like that, but that was just so funny, and it was fun to us that we never got tilted. And then at the very end, I realized, oh, those poor casters.
It was definitely fun for us. You gave us plenty of things to talk about. So I have to give you guys props. Very well played. Very, very well done overall. Some interesting ideas that you guys were trying out, and it wound up working out for you guys. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as cleanly as you were hoping for, but ultimately you guys take the grand finals here tonight.
Yep.
Honestly, if I may just say, every single person on my team showed up really, really, really well tonight. They're like, Optic, he concerns us a lot, because in scrims he won't take something seriously, but tonight he just did everything perfectly, and it was very evident. A friend of mine in real life who is on the team, it's Iceman, he did so well in terms of keeping his mental stable and keeping everyone else's mental stable. BT has been struggling a lot, feeling like she's the weakest member of the team, but every bit of her cooldowns are on point tonight. And WM1 MVP from last time, our newest member, this is only his second or third match with us. He has been fitting in great. He's actually a main tank player. He's not an off tank player, and that Diva is as self-admittedly probably his worst tank, and he just showed up beautifully. And Ricky, oh my gosh, the pops from Ricky, he just did so well, kept everyone's mental in check. He paired with Iceman, and Drac and Specs, both of them, they don't realize, I don't think, how good coaches they are. Like, I've never had, in my entire life playing any sport, even a lot of time with close friends, I've never had someone not show like care as much as them, but know that they're caring. They care so much for the quality of this team, and they work so hard, staying up late, looking at VODs. I think they've probably put in more time than all of us combined, and it really, really, really shows. And Spiky working day and night to get us a scrim on time. If our scrim is canceled late, he finds us a perfect opponent. Speaking of perfect opponents, our opponents tonight, they did beautifully.
That
So-
was simply beautiful to hear, and really a testament to the hard work and team coordination that brought you here. Obviously, an emotional finish.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and absolutely the perfect note to end this on from such a heartfelt message from a player, a fellow caster, and just a wonderful member of this community here. So make sure if you want to catch up more from Rose Cup to join our Discord server. If you want to get inside information on the All-Stars Week, which should be coming up soon, join the Discord server. More announcements on that will be coming soon. And congratulations once more to the Aces on their victory in the grand finals for the Diamond Division, and a very late night to everyone at home.
Anyways, though, we are going to start wrapping up. My name is Keela Miles.
Hello.
And I'm Artorias IV. Thank you for joining us tonight. Enjoy your night.